If you are interested in motion graphics, then you are at right place, my friend. Welcome to my After Effects course for beginners. I have divided this course into two parts. In part 1, we will learn all the essential things about After Effects, like from introduction to user interface to the expressions. And in second part, we will learn some practical animations like looping animation, typographic animation, abstract background animation, and explainer video animation. You can watch this course on my second channel also, where I have created each video on each subject. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. Here we are in Adobe After Effects. So whenever we are going to open this software, we will get these two options over here. First is new composition and second is new composition from footage. Now we will focus on this new composition and we will check it out this option at the end of this video. So I'll click on this new composition first. So it will create this composition settings. Now first thing we have is composition name. As always, you can name whatever you want this composition. I'll call it as main animation, like my all tutorials, like that. Now if you see here, we are getting these three settings over here. One is basic, advanced, and 3D renderer. We don't need to focus on these things now. We will focus on this basics already. Now whenever you are going to use any video editing software, they will always give you some presets. Like in Premiere Pro, we also have this option. Now if I click in on this custom options, as you can see, we are getting this inbuilt presets over here. According to your needs or client requirement, you are free to choose anything of them, but right now I will suggest you not choose anything out of them. Now we will customize our height width of this software. Let's say width is 1920 and height is 180, just like that. And we have one option called lock aspect ratio, which it's just like a link of this. Like suppose this thing is now in 1920 by 180. Now I want this thing to 720 pixels. So what I'll do, I'll select this height and I'll simply type 720. But because this option is checked, it will also change the value of this width, just like that. Now if I change it again, let's call it as 1920. It will automatically change the height also, just like that. Now over here we have this option called frame rate. Now frame rate is frame per second only. It means whatever you are going to put this value, it will run in 1 second. Now I'll by default choose this 30 seconds, just like that. Now resolution is, as name itself, it's a resolution. You can choose it as a half, third and quarter, but it's just for free preview in this software. It has nothing to do about the final output. Now over here we have this duration option. Now in duration we need to understand that the last digits are not second, but they are milliseconds. Then this is our seconds, this thing is our minute, and this thing is our hour. So over here we have 20 minutes and 30 seconds, but I don't want that much timeline for our animation, so I'll choose 30 seconds only. So we need to understand this concept over here. Now background color is, as always, is our background color. You are free to choose anything you want. Right now I'll choose black and I'll hit OK, just like that. Now if I hit OK on it, as you can see, our composition has been created. Now as always in any software, scroll down, scroll up is for zoom in, zoom out, and if you hit space bar, you can move this canvas from here to here wherever you want. Now suppose I have scrolled down a little bit and I've zoomed out a little bit and my composition is lost somewhere else. Now I want this thing to be in fit. So as you can see, we have one option over here called magnification ratio pop up. So I'll click on it and if I choose fit, it will fit, just like that. So that's the purpose of this option. Now after that we have one option like choose grid and guide option. So if I click on it, I have these two options over here. One is title safe action. So it will create a automatic, what we can say, a grid or ratio. It's almost like a camera. And after that you will get another option called proportional grid. So it will create a grid like that. But instead of that, I'll prefer to use this option, which is called title safe action. Now What is this option toggle mask and shape? We will see in my further videos. We don't need to focus on that much now because we haven't created anything. So to understand that, we must create something over here. So what I'm trying to say is this is our main canvas. If you see downwards over here in this panel, this is our composition name, and this whole thing is what we call timeline. Now this timeline is divided into two parts, one which is actual timeline, and over here we are going to get these names. Now we don't have anything over here, so that's why we cannot see anything. So let's create something over here. For example, if I hit Ctrl Y, or instead of that, what we will do, in this blank space I'll click right click, I'll go to the new, and you can choose anything you want, like you can create text, solid, light, etc. But we will see all these things in my further videos. Right now we will only create one solid. Solid is basically what we can say a layer, and height width you can adjust like that according to your needs. Right now I'll choose as my composition, which is 1920 by 180, and unit is, as you know, it's in pixels. And if I choose white color and hit OK, as you can see, it will create a white board, and we have this white solid over here, which is the name of this layer, and we have this proper timeline over here. So basically this portion of it is all about the names and the properties, and this is the actual timeline where we need to adjust the keyframes of our animation. We will see after a minute. Now as you can see, whenever we are going to create anything over here, it will appear over here. So this is what we call a project window. So what is the use of project window? Whenever you are going to use any video editing software or any other software like Premiere Pro, Filmora, you will always get one option called project window. So use of project window is it will collect all the data you are going to use in this animation or etc. For example, if I double click on this portion, it will allow me to import anything file from my PC. Like I'll choose this comp1, and if I hit import, as you can see, it will automatically drag this over here. If I again double click over here, I can choose any other file and simply import in my project window. And from project window, I can drag and drop this file on my composition like that. So as you can see, we have the name over here, and we have the timeline of that video over here. So you can play this video alone. Now this blue thing is current time indicator. With the help of that, you can go anywhere you want, and if you want to play this video, simply hit spacebar, so it will play our video like that. So this is our project window, and after that you will find one option which is called effect and controls. So what is this? Let's see in after a minute. Now before we will discuss about this effect control, we need to focus on this panel over here, which is effect and presets. Now this is the most important part of the After Effects. So right now in the search bar, I'll type one normal effect called, let's say, tint, for example. And if you want to apply any effect, all you need to do, select any layer you want. Like now I'll choose this video file, which is a comp1.mp4, and I'll simply select this tint effect, and there are two ways to apply it. First, you need to select this layer and simply double click, so it will automatically apply. I'll hit Ctrl Z, and the second thing is simply drag and drop on this video just like that. So whenever we are going to apply any effect on it, we will get the properties of effect in our effect controls panel. Over here you can swap this colors. So this is basically the property of this tint. Right now I am not gonna explain any specialities of this effect. It's just for showing you that what is the use of this effect and control panel. So I'll delete this effect over here. Now after that, as always, we are gonna get this famous options like file, edit, composition, layers, effect, animation, etc. And after that we will get this toolbars over here just like that. Now if you see properly, these options are almost familiar to Photoshop. If I open Photoshop over here, as you can see, we have main canvas over here, and in After Effects also we have this canvas, we have these tools over here which are almost similar to Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, and in Photoshop they are also providing this timeline and this layer panel, etc. So basically the concept of this software is that it also provides options like graphic designing, but because this is the video editing software, it provides us something which are important to create animations and video edits, just like that. But the viewport and idea is almost like a graphic designing software. So after that effect and presets panel, you will get another options like alignment and character, which is obviously for text animations and etc., and then paragraph options, tracking, etc., etc. We will cover this portion in my next videos. Now after that, if you see over here, we are getting something like default, learn, standard. So these are basically inbuilt viewport type. As you can see, whenever I am gonna click on anyone, it will automatically change the viewport of, or what we can see, user interface of my software, just like that. Now, so basically this is the user interface of this software. Now we will focus on how can we adjust it accordingly. Now as you can see, if I suppose I want this space to be minimized, so what we can do, I'll go over here and I can minimize this thing. Also I can maximize thing. Now this thing is applicable for all the things, just like that. So with the help of that you can adjust these things. Now suppose this is my timeline and by mistake I have deleted this like that. So now I want that timeline back. So what I can do, there are two options. I'll go to the Windows and over here I'll find the timeline main animation. If I click over there, we will get this timeline again. Even if I deleted this project window, like right click below panel, and I want that project window back, then again I'll go to the Windows and I'll find, here it is, project, and shortcut key is Ctrl+0. So I can find this project window over here. And if we go to the Windows and we go to the workspace, we have this much workspace. If I go to the all panels, as you can see, it will provide me all the existing panels in After Effects, like that. And there is another thing you can do. If I suppose by mistakenly I deleted these things, and suppose I've deleted these things also, so what you can do, go to the Windows, go to the workspace, and here you have one option, reset all panels to saved layout. If I click on it, we will get these options again. So this is the user interface of Adobe After Effects. And with the help of this tool, what you can do, suppose we have the shape layer over here. If I click on it, you will get this option like fill and stroke, and you can create any shape you want. And whenever you are going to create anything in this canvas, it will automatically create one layer in our main animation, and also it will create this thing in our project window. Like if I go to the solids over here, as we can see, initially we have created this solid, so it will create this thing over here also, just like that. So this is the basic viewport of Adobe After Effects. As I told you at the start, we will learn about this thing in the last section of this video. Now as we can see, with the help of new composition, we can create customized composition. Now if I click on this new composition from footage, it will allow me to choose any video from my PC. So if I selected any video and I'll hit import, now as you can see, it will automatically create a composition with the help of this video. Now what will happen now, it will create a composition with the accurate time of this video. Like suppose this video has a timeline up to 2 seconds, so our composition timeline is also 2 seconds, and name of the composition is also like our video which we have imported. So this is the use of this feature. Now after that, if you want to create a new file, or you can go to the file, new, and you can create new project. The shortcut key is Ctrl+Alt+N, and I am not gonna save this file, so we will get back to this viewport. Now let's create a new composition. As always, I'll call it as main, animation. And settings, I'll choose normal settings. Width, I'll choose 1920, height 180, frame rate is 30 seconds, and duration I'll choose 30 seconds only. And for the background color, we will choose black color, hit OK and hit OK. So it will create this composition. And this is our canvas, this is my project window, this is my timeline, and this is my effect and presets panel. Now I'll go to choose grid and guide option, and we will get this title safe action. So I'll click on it. So we will get this kind of grid which is almost like a camera. As from name itself you will understand title action safe. So whenever we are going to create anything in this canvas, so we can adjust it properly at the center. Now we will focus on this timeline section. As you guys know, this is timeline, and this timeline is divided into two sections. Over here you will get the source name, mode, track, mat, parent, linking options, and over here you will get actual timeline with duration. This is my time indicator, and if I hit spacebar, so we will get this play option over here. We can adjust it like that also. So move from here to here. Now what I'll do, I'll select this rectangle tool. Over here, whenever I am going to select any rectangle shape tool, etc., we will get these two options by default. One is fill and another one is stroke. We will see in depth about these options in my further videos, but right now, as you guys know, whenever you are going to choose rectangle tool or any ellipse tool or star tool, you will get these two options. One is for fill and one is for stroke. Now I'll only focus on this fill, we don't need any stroke. So I'll go here and I'll choose any color like this purple and hit OK. Hold shift and I'll create one proper cube like that. So whenever we are going to create anything in this vast canvas, as you can see, we will get this layer over here. Not only this, but even if you type text over here, I'll choose black color from this character, and even if we type anything like motion, etc., as you can see, another layer is created in this main animation comp. So basically the point is, whenever you are going to create anything in this canvas, it will automatically create one layer over here. Now as you can see, these two, as I said, this timeline is divided into two portions. Over here you will find the name of this, and over here you will find the actual timeline, and you can adjust this timeline like this. So if I hit play now, I'll move this thing over here. If I hit play now, as you can see, after this point we can see this thing over here. So this is the concept of this timeline. Now we will move on to our next chapter, which is keyframes. Now again I'll create one ellipse. I'll choose the same color, and by holding shift I'll create one ellipse. Now whenever we are going to create any shape over here, you will always find this anchor point over here. So anchor point is basically the center of mass of any object. Like from that point it will rotate. If I select this and I'll choose this rotation tool over here and I'll rotate it, as you can see, it's rotating from this point because the anchor point of this over here, so center of mass of that object is also here, so it will rotate from here only. I'll hit Ctrl Z. Now for adjusting that, we can adjust in two different ways. First thing, we can choose this pan behind tool, and with the help of that you can adjust this anchor point and move it at the center. And another thing, you can choose shortcut key like Ctrl Alt Home, so it will automatically go at the center. Now then you can select this layer, you can go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically like that. So this option is for alignment of any object. Now as you can say, we are going to learn about the keyframes, but before that we need to learn about some properties. Like in After Effects, you can find n number of properties. For example, if I hit PO on my keyboard, you will get this position property. If I hit S, you will get this scale property. R for rotation, T for opacity. Now as you can see, whenever I am gonna hit P, it will open the position property, and if I hit T, it will open the opacity property. Now I want all properties at the same time to be appear. So for that, what we'll do, initially let's hit P only, then I'll hold shift and then I'll press R. As you can see, now we can see position and rotation, both of them. Then I'll press, let's say, S, which is for scaling, then T for opacity. So with the help of shift, you can type any property shortcut and we can see those properties. Now whenever we are going to open this properties, over here you will find this stopwatch. This stopwatch is basically the initial keyframe of this property. For example, I'll select my selection tool and I'll move this thing over here by holding shift, so it will snap properly. Now as you can see, whenever I'll move this over here in position, you can see the changes, because in position we have two options, one is for x-axis and second one is for y-axis. So I'll move this thing over here and I'll create one keyframe on the position property. I'll zoom in a little bit. For zoom in, I'll choose over here, you can see it's equal to, but I am pressing plus sign, so it will zoom my timeline. As you can see, we are getting this frames over here. If I zoom out, it will go back to the seconds. Now I'll go to around 1 second. I'll select this layer, which is my shape layer, and by holding shift I'll move this thing from here to here. Now I'll go to the start, and if I hit spacebar, we will get this simple animation over here, like that. As simple as that. There is no rocket science. Now I want the scaling animation for them also, so I'll create one keyframe on the start. At this point I'll make it scale 50, and at this point now I want to jump from here to here. So instead of using this time indicator again and again, I have one shortcut keys like K, so it will automatically jump on the keyframe which is ahead of this, and J which is at backward. So I'll hit K for forward keyframes and J for backward keyframes. So I'll go over here and I'll make it 100 again. Now if I hit play, I can see this animation over here. Let's make it 10 maybe, so we'll get this kind of animation. We don't need to animate rotation because it's circle, so you are not gonna find out whether it's rotating or not. You can choose opacity, but I don't think that looks good, but you can. What I'm saying is, now I want to reveal all the keyframes on this layer, so for that there is one shortcut key. I'll press U. So with the help of U, what will happen, you can see all the keyframes which you have made on any layer, not in this shape layer but any layer or any composition in your, any layer which is in your composition. So if I hit play, we will get this kind of animation. Now this is my layer. If I hit Ctrl D, as you can see, it will duplicate the layer. If I hit Ctrl D few times, as you can see, I have created the duplicate of one layer 5 times. So I have this 5 layers over here. After selecting all of them, if I hit U, as you can see, I can see all the keyframes like that. And there is another thing we can do. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can adjust the timeline of these things like that. So if we hit play now, we will get this kind of animation, which is a very simple animation. There is no complicated stuff in it. And there is another thing you can do with this thing. I'll select the last layer and I'll change the color, this one which is red. I'll select this one, I'll choose something like pink. I'll select this one, I'll choose blue, and for this one I'll choose something like that. So we will get this kind of animation. So this is the concept of timeline and keyframes. Now we need to focus on the concept of compositions. Now let's see one example. Now I have 10 apples over here, and then I have 5 pockets. Now I have to fill those apples in that pockets, but after that I have to carry those 5 pockets and travel. But because I have only 2 hands, so it's difficult for me to carry these 5 pockets. So for that, what I'll do, I'll grab one big bag, and then I'll put these 5 pockets in that bag, and then I'll carry that one bag. So this is the small scenario of compositions. Now what does it mean? Let's see. Now suppose I have this 5 animations. Now I need to move them forward, backward, suppose in my animations in future. So instead of that, what I'll do, I'll move this thing over here, and then I'll right click and I'll go to the pre-compose, and I'll click on it, and I can name it as, let's say, simple animation. Just like that, move all attributes into the new composition, and then I'll hit OK. Now all these things are in this simple animation composition. If I double click on it, as you can see, inside that we will have this 5 layers. So if I go to my main animation, I can see this animation also, and I can adjust this animation also. Now suppose if I shift this composition over here, and from start if I hit play, we will get this animation from here only. So this is the concept of composition, where you can accumulate all the animations in one simple composition. So it will easy to adjust the layers and different animations with the help of these compositions. So in today's lecture we have learned about the composition, we have learned about the keyframes, and we have also learned about the timeline concept, etc. In the next lecture we will learn about the eases property. Like suppose if I hit U and I'll select all the keyframes, and if I hit F9 on keyboard, as you can see the shape of this keyframes is changed, and now if I hit play, as you can see the animation is quite smoother. Animation width I'll choose 1920, height is 180, frame rate is 30 seconds, duration I'll choose around, let's say, I think 5 seconds only, and background color I'll choose white color and simply hit OK. So my composition is ready. I'll go to the choose grid and guide option, and I'll simply hit on title selection to get this proper grid. Now we will go to our shape layer, and I'm gonna choose my ellipse tool, and with the help of that I'm gonna create one ellipse like that. And this, as you can see, my anchor point is at the center of this composition, but I want this thing to be center at of this circle. So for that, what I'll do, I'll press Ctrl Alt Home, which is a shortcut key to align that anchor point to the center. Press V to select our selection tool, and I'll move this thing over here. And if you have any stroke over here, so if you want to delete, simply click on this stroke and delete and hit OK. And you are free to choose any color you want for this fill. Right now I'll choose this, what we call blue color, and then again I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Now as you can see, whenever we are going to create anything on this canvas, it will automatically get created in this timeline also. So now I'll close this thing, I'll select this shape layer, and I'll hit Ctrl D, and I'll drag this thing over here by holding shift. Again I'll hit Ctrl D for duplicate, and with the help of shift I'll drag this thing over here. Again I'll hit Ctrl D, I'll drag it down. Again I'll hit Ctrl D and I'll drag it down like that. We can adjust the position like that, select all of them and drag them like that. Now we will press P for position property, and we will create one keyframe over here, You can move this thing from this canvas, or you can move this thing from here also. So I'll go to around 1.20 frames and I'll move this thing over here like that. So if I hit play, we will get this kind of animation. Now we will see the concept of ease in ease out. I'll move this thing over here for better explanation. I'll select this one and I'll select these keyframes. I'll simply right click on it and I'll choose ease in ease out, but we are not going to choose this, we will choose this. For this one I am not gonna change anything, so we can compare all these layers. So I'll select this fourth one, which is our second one, and I'll select those keyframes, right click. Make sure that you are right clicking on this keyframe, not on the blank space. So I'll go over here, right click, keyframe assistance, and easy ease. With the shortcut key is F9. As you can see, the icon of the keyframe is changed. So if I hit play, we can see the difference of these two animations. And now suppose I want to see this and this layer only. This layer I don't want to see in my composition. So for that, what I'll do, I'll select this one and I'll select this one and I'll choose this option. So now I can see only this option, this layers only. So if we hit compare these things, as you can see, the animation duration is same, but the way they are animating is quite changed. And that changes, if you see this one, the velocity, I mean the speed of this animation is constant. But in this one, what happening is, initially the speed is slow, and in middle the speed is as always medium, and as the animation ends, the speed is again slow. So which is, initially it's quite smooth, in middle it's quite fast, and at the end it again smooth. So this is F9, which means easy ease. Now we will select this third one and I'll click this option, so I can compare these two. Right click, go to the keyframe assistance, and I'll choose easy ease in. Shortcut key is Shift F9, so I'll select that. And as you can see, the icon of this keyframes is quite different. Now if I hit play, as you can see, we will get this kind of animation. Now if we compare these two animations, in this third one the initial speed is fast, and as the animation ends it becomes slow. The duration is same, but the way of animation is different. Now I'll select this one, I'll hide this one, I'll select these keyframes, right click, keyframe assistance, and I'll choose easy ease out. Control Shift F9 is the shortcut key, and I'll hit OK. As you can see, the icon is changed and it's just the reverse of this one. So if I hit play, in this one initial speed is slow, and as the animation ends it becomes fast. So that's it. Now for the last one, what I'll do, I'll select all of them and I'll select these keyframes, and I'll go to the right, keyframe assistant, time reverse keyframes. So it will reverse the keyframes. So this is the difference between all of them. So now we will animate this thing in a little better way. So for that, what I'll do, I'll select all of them and I'll press Ctrl Shift C for pre-comp, and I'll hit OK like that. Now I'll select this one and I'll go to the effect and presets panel, and I'll apply one effect called echo, and I'll double click on it. As you can see, we will get some weird animation over here. Now in echo operator, I'll choose maximum, so to get rid of this effect, and number of echoes I'll choose 20 like that. And over here, decay, from name itself, decay means decay, and I'll choose 0.5. So as you can see, we will get this effect over here. Now I'll double click on it and I'll hit U. I'll go over here. Now as you can see, we have some extra portion in this composition. To get rid of that, what I'll do, I'll simply hit K to get over here. I'll hit N, so my animation is only from here. If I hit spacebar, as you can see, after this it again go from the start. Now in this work area, I'll right click and I'll go to the trim comp to work area. So as you can see, it reduced the composition size. And if I go to my animation, as you can see, we have this much size only. Now I'll hit Ctrl D. Sorry, not on this echo but on this layer. I'll hit Ctrl D and I'll move this thing over here. Right click, go to the time and make it time reverse layer. So if we hit play from here, we will get something like this, and we will hit N over here. Now if I hit play, I'll get something like this. If you want, then you can increase the number of echoes, and you can increase the size of this decay like 0.7. Over here also we need to change that. I'll choose 15.9 over here, and like this. The decay value I'll choose 0.70, 0.7, like that. So as you can see, we have this kind of looping animation with the help of ease in ease out concepts. Effects, let's create a new composition. We will name it as main animation. As always, width is 1920, height is 180, frame rate is 30 seconds, and duration I'll choose 5 seconds, and background color I'll choose white color and simply hit OK. Choose grid and guide option and hit title self action. Now in the toolbox over here, we will get our shape layers. If I click on it, I'll get this 5 options over here. So we will check it out one by one. First is, as always, rectangle tool. As you can see, the shortcut key is Q for all of them. So if I select on it, whenever I am going to select any shape tool, we will get these 2 options over here. One is fill and one is stroke. So in the fill option, as always, we are free to choose any color, and in the stroke we will get the color of this any stroke. Now suppose by holding shift I am going to create this ellipse over here. So as we can see, we have one rectangle with the one stroke and one fill. And if I want to delete this stroke, what I will do, I am simply gonna click on the stroke options and I delete it and hit OK. Now again I want to add this stroke, so what I'll do, I'll go over here and I'll choose anyone. Now if I want to decrease the stroke width, over here we will get the stroke width option. With the help of that, we can change the amount of stroke width. Now there is one concept called gradient. Now suppose I want to delete this stroke. Now if I click on this fill option, as you can see, we are getting this much options over here. One is none, one is solid color, one is linear gradient, and one is radial gradient. Now I'm going to click on this linear gradient. So as you can see, we will get something like that. So I'll hit OK. Now I'm going to click on this box. So over here we are getting this gradient editor. Here we also get these 2 options. With the help of that, we can easily switch between linear and radial gradient like that. And we can adjust this over here, location of this gradient. Now from this, I'll select this one and I can choose the color of my gradient. Similarly from here, I can choose color like that. Also I can switch to the linear gradient and radial gradient. So this is the gradient option. So I'll hit OK. As you can see, our gradient is applied. Now I'll delete this thing for now, and I'll go to the fill and I'll choose solid color and I'll hit OK. Now over here I'll choose this rectangle tool again, and with the help of shift I'll create one rectangle which is a proper square. And as always, Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. Now whenever we are going to create any shape layer, as you can see over here we will get this shape layer, and inside of that we will get this content. In content we will find this rectangle 1. Now just because this rectangle, in contents we will get rectangle 1. If I create any another shape like ellipse, By holding shift, I'll create one ellipse over here. As you can see, in the content option we will get ellipse. Now again you can choose this one and press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Now if we go to the rectangle one, again we will get this type of options. Over here we will get stroke, fill one and transform rectangle one. And in rectangle path 1 over here, as you can see, we will get this position option and scale option, etc, etc. We'll also get the option for roundness, so you can create the morphing on animation with the help of that, which we will see in further. Now I'll delete both the shapes. Now we have seen the rectangle tool and ellipse tool, and rounded ellipse is that same. If I create this, I'll go to the rectangle one, rectangle path 1, we will get this roundness option over here, like that, as simple as that. Now in addition we will get this polygon tool by holding shift. If we create this, if I go to the polystar one, polystar path 1, we can easily create the amount of points that we want to create. With the help of that we can create this kind of rectangle also, and we will get the other options like roundness, etc, etc, which are quite useful to create some morphing animations. As you can see in my screen, if I increase and decrease the values, as you can see the shape is gonna change. And grab this at the center, I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center, and if we change this shape we'll get this kind of morphing. Also there are some different options for round, outer radius, etc, etc, which is the self-study portion. You can simply create any shape and just you need to go inside this content, go to the any option over here and check out whatever they have provided. So I'll get this. Now after the polygon I'll get this star tool, and from the name itself it will create a star, and I'll drag this at the center. If I go to this polystar one, polystar path 1, as always we will get this kind of options, and again we will get this options. With the help of that you can easily create any morphing animations. Now we will create, with this shape layer we will create some kind of animations like that. Now I'll choose the star tool. With the help of shift I'll create one star, Ctrl Alt Home, go to the align tab, align it horizontally and align it vertically, press S for scaling option and I'll scale it down. Now we will create one simple animation with the help of the shape tools. Now I'll go over here, I'll go to the contents, I'll go to the polystar and I'll go to the polystar path 1. Now for the points I'll choose 6, like that. As you can see in inner roundness we will get something like that. So create both inner roundness and outer roundness. I'll create one keyframe on inner roundness and one keyframe on outer roundness. Hit U and go to around 2 seconds and we will increase this option and we will see what kind of animation we will get. We will get something like that. And if I increase the outer roundness we will get something like that, and if we hit play, as you can see we will get something like that. Or you can decrease this outer roundness to get some different kind of animation. So if you see now we will get something like that. I'll move this thing up to 3 seconds and let's see how does it looks. I'll also do one thing. I'll select this one, I'll press R, I'll create one keyframe over here, I'll hit U to reveal all the keyframes. As we have studied in our earlier videos, with the help of U we can reveal all the keyframes, and I'll go to the 3 seconds and I can rotate it like that. So if you see now we will get this kind of animation. Now what we can do to do something unique, we can hit Ctrl D and over here I'll change the color of this one. Again I'll hit Ctrl D and over here I am gonna change the color of this one. Now I'll hit U again. Now what I'll do, I'll select those keyframes and I'll move them a little bit forward I'll select those keyframes and I'll move them a little bit over here. So if we hit play now, we will get this kind of animations. So this is a very simple animation you can do with the properties of our shape layer. So yep, in After Effects we have this 5 shape layers, and in contents you will find so many options like that. All you need to do, you need to study it by yourself. So our shape layer concept is almost done. Now we will move to the next chapter, which is our graph editor. So if you remember, in the previous video we have learned about F9, ease in, ease out, time reverse, etc, etc. Now we will focus on the graph editors of them. Now what I did over here, I'll hit Ctrl N to create a new composition, and I'll call it as, let's see, graph editor, and I'll hit OK. Now I'll choose this star only, and with the help of that I'll hold shift and I'll create this shape, and I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. I'll press V to select my selection tool, and I'll move this over here. Now whenever we are going to talk about the graph, we need to understand we have two types of graphs over here. But before that, what we will do, we will animate this thing. For now I'll select this one and I'll hit Ctrl D again, and I'll move this thing over here. Now what I'll do, I'll select all of them, I'll press P, and with the help of shift I'll also press R so I can see both position and R properties. I'll create one keyframe on both of them, and I'll go to around 1.20 seconds. I'll move them over here, and I'll simply rotate it something like that. Now what we can do, we can select both the keyframes and we will hit F9 to ease in, ease those keyframes, just like that. So we'll get something like this. Now this first layer is only for reference, we don't need to change anything over here. So what I'll do, I'll remove these options. Remove means I unhide these options, and I'll lock this layer because we are not going to change anything over here. Now with the help of these keyframes, I'm gonna explain what are the graph editors. So first thing we need to do, we need to select these layers, and over here we will get option which is called graph editor. So if I click on it, I'll get something like that. Now most of the cases this graph is not like that. So to reveal this, what we need to do, simply right click on this blank space, and over here as you can see we have two types of graphs. One is edit graph, which looks like that, and one is edit speed graph, which looks like that. Now first we need to focus on edit value graph. So value from itself, it defines the value of what we call your animation. As you can see, if I click on this position, this red line denotes the X position and this Y line denotes the Y position. Now if you see the Y position is, I mean this green line is straight, it's not gonna change because as you can see this animation is on the X-axis, there is no animation in Y-axis. That's why this Y line, which denoted by green color, is not gonna change, but this X position line is changed. So this is the value graph. Now if I suppose change this thing on Y position, as you can see this line changes. So this Y line, I mean the line with the green color, denotes the Y position. So this is the value graph. Now we need to focus on the speed graph. I'll go to the edit graph, right click, and I'll go to the edit speed graph. As you can see this lines denotes the speed of it. Now if I click on, I'll go over here and I'll over this over here. So as you can see we are getting some text over here, shape layer 1 dot position, and over here as you can see it denotes 732.12 pixel per second, which is our speed. So if just because we have hit F9, as you can see initially this is very slow, because whenever we choose F9 or something, we know that initial speed of that animation is slow. So as you can see this is initially 0 per second, and as it goes further the speed is gonna increase. So that's why my graph is also going up. As you can see, the initial speed is slow, and at this point if I go over here, this is my maximum speed. That's why this graph is in parabola. So if and as the animation goes further, the speed again is gonna decrease. You can see this, the speed is going to decrease, the values are also gonna decrease. So that's why my graph is like that. So this is just the basic explanation of graph. Now there is another thing we can do. We can adjust this graph a little bit further. Now if I select this graph, as you can see, we are getting these two handles. With the help of that, what we can do, we can adjust the speed of this graph. Now if I select this graph, and with the help of shift I can move this over here, and with the help of that I can move this thing over here. So now as you know, with the help of F9 the initial animation is slow. Now because I have changed the graph, I have shifted this curve over here, so initial animation it's gonna be super slow, and then it will gain the maximum velocity, and then again it will become slow. So now if I hit play, as you can see, we will get some kind of difference over here. Now this second one is normal F9 animation, and this one is edited graph animation. As you can see the difference between two, and the difference is this animation is quite, what we can say, smoother as compared to this one. This one is also smooth, but this one is too much smooth, and this one looks cool also. So that's the role of graph editors. With the help of that we can achieve some realism also, that we will explain in our further tutorials. So in this tutorial we have learned about the concept of shape layers. With the help of these properties we can create some abstract animations like that, and we have learned about the graph editors, which is PD graph and etc. etc. Here we are in Adobe After Effects. We will create one new composition as always, and we will name this animation comp. Just like that, and width I'll choose 1920, height is 180, and frame rate is 30 seconds, and duration is 15 seconds, and background color you are free to choose any color you want, but to be visible I am going to choose white color. Hit OK and hit OK, so it will create our composition. Now I'll go to choose grid and guide option, and I'll choose this title section to get this kind of grid. Now I'm going to choose my ellipse tool, and with the help of shift I'm going to create this kind of ellipse. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point of there at the center. Then I'll select this, I'll go to the align tab, align it horizontally, and then align it vertically. Now what I'm gonna do, I'll click on this fill option, and I'm gonna choose this radial gradient and hit OK. Now we will click on this box and we will choose our colors. I'm gonna choose this, and over here I'm gonna choose some darker color, and I'll hit OK. So my ball is ready. Now after that I am gonna press Y, which is a shortcut key for selecting our pen behind tool, and with the help of Control I'll snap this anchor point at the edge of the bottom. Now as we know that we have to make the bouncing of ball animation, so I'll hit P on my keyboard for position property, and I'll select this position, I'll right click on it, and I'll choose separate dimensions. So now what we have two separate properties for X and Y positions. Now in this animation we are only going to focus on Y position, so initially I want this thing to be up, so either I can go from here, or simply you can choose select tool and you can move this over here, just like that. Now I'll zoom in a little bit and I'll go to, but initially I'll create one keyframe on Y position. I'll go to around 20 frames, and in align tab I'll go over here, which is align vertically, so it will automatically come down. So if we hit play we will get this kind of animation. Then after few keyframes I am gonna create this kind of keyframe, and in middle of this I'll move this over here. So if we hit play now we will get something like this. but as you can see it doesn't look like a bouncing ball. So for that what we will do, we will select those keyframes and we will simply hit F9, which is a shortcut key for ease in ease, just like that. Now after that we need to adjust the graph editors. So with the help of graph editor we can create this some kind of realism. Now after I'll select those keyframes and I'll go to the graph editor. As you know, in our previous lecture we have learned about the two types of graph editors, out of which we are going to edit speed graph. If your graph editor is at edit value graph, so all you need to do, simply right click over here and choose speed graph, just like that. Now whenever something comes from up, the initial speed should be very slow. So make that what we are going to do, I'll select this handle. With the help of shift I'll move this thing over here. So the velocity, as you can see over here, the velocity is very slow, and when it touches the ground it's become maximum. So I'll select this keyframe and I'll move this handle over here. So if we hit play we'll get this kind of thing. Now I'll zoom in a little bit. Now after the bounciness, what will happen, the ball will gain some maximum speed of it. So for that what we are going to do, we will select this handle and I'll move this graph over here, this handle over here, and I'll select this one and I'll move this handle over here. So it will gain maximum velocity, and as it go up it will become slow. So again as it goes down the speed should be slow, and as it touches the ground speed should be maximum. So I'll move this over here. So now if I see this animation, we will get this kind of bouncing ball animation over here. I'll zoom out a little bit, so we'll get this kind of stuff. Now we can add some squash and stretch in this animation. So for that what we will do, I'll press S on keyboard to reveal my scale properties, and I'll unlink this option here over here, and over here I'll make it 70, and I'll create one keyframe over here, and then I'll hit U. Now I'll zoom in a little bit, I'll go one frame backward and I'll make it 100 again. I'll go over here and I'll make it 100 again. I'll select those keyframes and I'll hit F9. So if I hit play, as you can see we will get some squashiness over here, just like that. Now after that what we can do, we can select this layer, we can press Ctrl Shift C, which is for pre-composition, and we will call this composition as let's say ball, and I'll hit OK, just like that, and I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. I'll press S for scaling option and I'll unlink this option, and instead of 100 I'm gonna choose this -100. So if I hit play we'll get something like this. Now hit P for position and I'll move this downwards. So what will happen, it will create one kind of reflection. I'll press T for opacity, and for the opacity I'll choose 50. So now if I hit play we will get one reflection also, just like that. If you want then you can decrease the reflection, just like that. So we'll get something like this. So yep, this is our first bouncing ball animation. Now we will create our second bouncing ball animation, which is quite long. So to create a new composition, either you can go from file, new and new project, or you can simply press Ctrl Alt N to create a new composition. I am not gonna save this file over here, but if you want the project file, so I'll save it, just like that. Now we will create a new composition again, and we will again call it as animation comp, and width I'll choose 1920, height is 180, frame rate is 30, duration is 50 seconds, and background color is white color, and I'll simply hit OK. Choose grid and guide option and I'll hit title selection. Now again I'm gonna choose this ellipse, and with the help of shift I'm gonna create this circle over here. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. Then select this layer, go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. Now press V for selection tool, and what I'll I'll move this thing over here, just like that. And now I'll hit P for position, I'll select this position, right click, and I'll choose separate dimensions. Now I'll create one keyframe on X position, and I'll go to around 2 seconds, and I'll move this thing from here to here. Now if we hit play, we'll get something like this, or you can move this keyframe up to 3 seconds. So you'll get something like that. Now we need to create some bouncing animations over here. So now we will animate this Y position. Initially I'll move this Y position over here like that. Create one keyframe over here. I'll zoom in a little bit, go to around 20 frames, and with the help of shift I'll drag this over here. Don't create any keyframe on X position, like that. Go few frames forwards, again create one keyframe on Y position, then again go few frames forwards, again create one keyframe on Y position, and at last again keyframes one keyframe on Y position, just like that. Also initially I think we need to move this downward, so I'll select this, I'll hit Ctrl C, Ctrl V, just like that. I'll move this thing a little bit forward, and we will adjust those keyframes like that. Now in middle of these two, I'll move this thing over here. Now I'll select those keyframes, I'll hit Ctrl C, I'll go over here, and I'll hit Ctrl V to copy those keyframes. Make sure that you are not gonna create any keyframe on X position. So again I'll hit select this keyframe, hit Ctrl C, Ctrl V, go over here, hit Ctrl V again. So now if we hit play, as you can see, we are getting something like this. Now I'll select those keyframe, I'll hit F9 to ease those keyframe, but as you can see it looks something weird because we haven't adjusted our graph editor. So I'll go to the graph editor, and now what I am gonna do, I'll select this graph with the help of shift. I'll move this thing over here and this thing over here. I'll select this thing and I'll move this thing over here, and at this point I'll move this handle over here and this handle over here, so I'll get proper animation of bounciness. Now again I'll select this key handle, I'll move this thing over here and this thing over here, select this handle and move this thing over here, because after the bounce the velocity should be maximum. So our graph is like this, and as it goes up the velocity should be minimum, so our graph is like this, and when it goes down initial velocity should be slow and then it becomes fast. So I'll move this thing over here. Now same procedure we need to follow for all of them. So now if we see our animation, we'll get something like this. Now again you can use squash and stretch, so I'll press S, I'll unlink this option. At this point I'll make it, let's say 70, and I'll create one keyframe over here, but because we haven't adjusted our anchor point, so I don't think we need to do that, just like that. So again you can select this one, I'll press Ctrl Shift C to pre-comp it, and I'll call this as ball again. Hit Ctrl D, press S for scaling option, unlink this option, and let's make it, let's say -100. I hit U, I'll go to over here in animation, press P for position, and I'll move this thing over here and drag it down. Hit T for opacity, and we'll decrease the opacity of this one, so you'll get this kind of bouncing ball animation like that. So as you can see, with the help of graph editors and all the essential things we can create this kind of bouncing ball animations. So here we are in After Effects. As always, I'm gonna create a new composition and I'll name it as main animation, and width I'll choose 1920, height is 180, frame rate is 30 seconds, and duration I'll choose 50 seconds. And background color for this lecture we are gonna choose this black color and hit OK and hit OK. Now as always we will choose grid and guide option and we will hit title save actions. Now wherever we are going to create any layer, there are two methods. Either you can use shortcut keys or you can simply right click over here. You can go to the new and you are free to choose whatever layer you want. Now we will see both of them. So I'll right click over here, I'll go to the new, and first thing is text. So I'll click on it. As you can see, our text layer is ready. You can type this text from here, or there is another method with the help of our text tool. We can select this text tool and shortcut key is Ctrl T. We will learn about the shortcut keys in my further videos. So you can select this text option and you can type whatever text you want. I'm gonna type motion over here now you can select this text, Ctrl Alt Home, which is a shortcut key to align that anchor point to the center, which we have learned in my previous videos. And you can go to the align tab. You can align it horizontally and you can align it vertically. Now over here you will get the character menu, which is almost like every graphic designing software. Over here you can make some adjustment with your fonts, like you can choose light version of this font, and over here you can change the color of the font type, and over here you can change the color also, but right now I'm gonna choose white color only. And over here you can increase and decrease the font size, you can increase and decrease the spacing between them, and so much. We will see in depth in our further animation videos, but right now this is the text layer. So this is the first layer. I'll right click over here, I'll go to the new, and then I'll go to my next layering option, which is a solid. Solid is basically shape layer, but we will get this kind of options for their size and colors. So right now I'm gonna choose 1920 by 180, and color I'm gonna choose black color and hit OK. So as you can see, we have one solid layer over here. I'll bring it down. So this is my solid layer. The next is our shape layers. If I right click over here, as you can see, we will get this shape layer over here. Either you can choose this from here, but I would suggest you, instead of this, I'm gonna choose my shape layer from here. I'm gonna choose my ellipse tool. Over here I'll delete this radial gradient. Instead of that, I'll choose solid color and I'll hit OK. Now instead of total black color, I'll choose some gray color, hit OK, and with the help of shift we will create one ellipse. Now if I press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center, I'll press V for my selection tool and I'll drag this layer over here. Now what we can do, inside this shape layer, as you can see in contents we have this ellipse. So if I hit Ctrl D, so this is my second ellipse, and if I double click on it, then I can move this ellipse over here just like that, and go over here. Over here you will find fill option, and in this fill you can manipulate the color of this fill. So now we have one shape layer, and inside the shape layer there are two ellipses and their position are different. So I'll bring down this layer, which is my shape layer. That's it. And now I'll right click, I'll go to the new, and then I'm gonna choose this null object. So null object is basically simply null object. You can see this thing in the viewport, but in our final output it will not show them. So what is the use of null object? This is basically for parenting. Like suppose I'm gonna select this two layers and I want to move them somewhere else. So instead of moving something like this, what we can do, over here you can see this one option like parent and linking. If I hit F4, we can switch these options like blending mode and tracking mode. So over here is parent and linking. You can simply parent this with this null object, and now you can select this null object and you can move this thing wherever you want. Even you can press R and you can rotate it just like that. So this is my null object. Now I'll right click, I'll create new, and after the null object we are going to focus on adjustment layer. I'll click on it. So this is basically a extra layer which is useful to add some effect and presets. So now I'm going with effect and presets, and over here I'll type one effect which is called tint. So if I double click on this effect, as you can see in effect and controls, we will get this kind of effect which is applied on our adjustment layer. Now if I swap these colors, as you can see my colors are swapped. So basically what these layers do, whenever we are going to apply any effect on it, it will automatically apply those layers which are behind this adjustment layers like this. Now, for example, if I select this motion and I'll drag above the adjustment layer, as you can see now the color of this text is white because it's at the first position and then adjustment layer. Now if I drag it down, as you can see, because this is at the second position and adjustment at the top, so it will apply this tint effect on all the color layers which are beyond this what we call adjustment layers. So that's why they use adjustment layer to apply one effect to all the layers which are after that. So this is the use of adjustment layers. So with the help of this tint effect you can manipulate these colors the way you want. So I'm gonna delete it. This is just for explanation. Just like that, and then I'll press F4. Now after pressing F4 you can see these modes are changing. We will get this mode and track matte which we will see in my further videos, and if I press F4 we can see this kind of things. Now just to explain my remaining two layers, I'm gonna do this thing. I'll select this text layer and this shape layer and I'll convert these layers into 3D. So whenever we are converting these layers into 3D, now these are three-dimensional things. For example, suppose these layers are not in 3D and I'll press R. As you can see we have only two options, one option for rotation. Now suppose if I'm gonna convert this into 3D and now I'll press R, as you can see we are getting 3 rotation which is for 3 dimensions of them, like that and like that. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna right click new and I'm gonna create this camera. So don't need to worry about those settings over here, we can see in depth in my further videos. So I'll hit OK on it. So as you can see our camera layer is created. Now over here you can find this camera tool. The shortcut key for them is C, and you can simply move this thing like that, which is the adjustment of our camera. Now over here you can see other options also, which is orbit camera tool, which is simply for rotation with Ctrl Z. Then this is track XY camera. With the help of that you can simply move this camera on 2-dimensional space, and after that you will get this track Z camera axis, which is basically animate the camera on Z axis, which is basically for zoom in zoom out you can say. So this is our camera layer, and you will get this kind of controllers of camera over here, like this unified camera, and shortcut key for these options are C. So as you can see our mouse pointer is also gonna change like that. Now with the help of null object, what you can do, I'll select this null object, I'll hit enter and I'll type camera controller. You can name this null object, and I'm gonna convert this null object also into 3D, and then I'm gonna select this camera and I'm gonna make it a parent with this camera controller. And if I select this camera controller, which is our basically a null object, I'll press R on keyboard, and now I can adjust my camera with the help of this cam controller, because this camera is parent with this cam controller. So whenever I'm going to move this null object, my camera is also going to move. So that's the use of null object. So I'm gonna delete this because my one null object is already here. Now there is another thing you can do, which is our light. So there are 4 types of lights: parallel, spot, point, etc, etc. Each one of them has their different purposes. Now we will focus on spotlight. As you can see, if you have ever used the 3D softwares, you can understand what are the concept of lights. And now because our thing is in a 3-dimensional space, so there is option that you can do. Over here you will get this option, which is view. I'm gonna click on it, and if I choose 2 horizontal views, as you can see over here we are getting this top view, and with the help of this you can change the view of them. And now suppose if I want this like a 3D software, so over here you will get this 4 views. As you can see, this is like a proper 3D software. Over here we will get active camera, over here we will get right, front and top view. So with the help of that you can adjust this settings of lights like that. Now I'm gonna switch to one view, and if I double click on it, as you can see we are getting the light options, and you can change the color of this light just like that. So this is the use of lights. I'm gonna delete it, then I'll right click new, and again I'll create light, and now I'm gonna choose point light. As you can see, this is a point light. You can also move this thing just like that. Double click on it again, I'll choose white color, hit OK, hit OK. So these are the total 7 types of layers. One is solid layer, another one is shape layer, then third, which is our text layer. After this we have one null object, then we have one adjustment layer. Over here you can simply apply tint effect, and you can simply swap these colors just like that. Then you have this camera layer, and then you have this light. Now this is the types of layers After Effects are providing. Now we will move to our next chapter, which is called masking, and one is parenting. So for that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a new composition, and I'll call this composition as masking, and I'll hit OK. Now to understand this concept, what I'm gonna do, select this ellipse, I'm gonna select this red color, and I'll hit OK. With the help of shift, I'm gonna create this ellipse. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. Then I'll select this and V for selection tool, and I'll move this over here. Now I'll press Ctrl Y to create a solid background, which is a shortcut key to create solid background, and I'll choose white color. I'll hit OK, and I'll hit OK, and I'll drag this layer over here. And you can lock this layer, so you are not gonna touch this thing again. So I'll hit Ctrl D again, and I'll move this thing over here to understand the concept of masking. And I'm gonna change this color into blue, and I'll select this, I'll hit enter, and I'll call this layer as blue. Then I'll select this second layer, I'll hit enter, and I'll call this name as red. And I want to change the color of this things also. So for that, what I'm gonna do, I'll click on this layer panel, I'll choose this, this is blue, so we need to choose blue, and this one is red, so I'm gonna choose this one as red. And I'll unlock this, and I'll change the color of this one, let's say orange, and I'll lock this. Now we need to focus on these two. So as you can see, we are getting this kind of options. We need to switch them, so I'll press F4 on my keyboard, and after that you will get this kind of options. First option is the blending mode, which is obviously you will get this kind of blending modes like Photoshop. You can choose soft layers, etc, etc. As you can see, the color bendings are over here, but we are not gonna focus on that chapter. we are gonna focus on masking. Like in Photoshop, the term is masking. In After Effects, the term is track matte. Now, as you can see, this red layer is behind this blue, and if I drag this over here, this is up, this is down, and this option is only for the layer which is beyond this main layer. So for that, I'm gonna choose this red layer, and over here we can see track matte, and over here is none. So I'll click on it and we will get these options. One which is alpha matte. If I click on it, as you can see, it will cover the portion of this blue. If I am gonna select this blue, and I can move this wherever I want, just like that. Then second one is alpha matte. As you can see, this is like that. Then after, we will get this luma matte option. So as you can see the changes of it, this is my blue, and then we have luma inverted matte. So these are the 4 types of mattes which is provided by After Effects, which is not a very difficult concept to understand, but whenever we need to understand one thing, whenever I am gonna choose this alpha matte, this layer is gonna hide just like that, and you can see the change of icons. So these are the concept of what we call alpha track matte and alpha matte and alpha inverted matte, luma matte blue, and luma inverted matte. We can learn about this thing in depth in my further videos, but right now we will focus on this alpha matte and alpha inverted matte, which is a simple layer masking concept. In Adobe After Effects, I'll create a new composition as always, and I'll call this composition as main animation. Width I'll choose 1920 and height is 180. Frame rate is 30 seconds. Duration is also 30 seconds, and background color is white color, and I'll simply hit OK. Then I'll go to the choose grid and guide option and hit titles F actions so we can get this grid. Now first we will see what is trim path. So I'm gonna create one stroke with the help of our pen tool, and as the shape layer, whenever we are going to choose pen tool, we will get these 2 options over here, fill and stroke. But I want to create stroke, so I don't require any fill over here, so I'll click on this fill and I'll simply delete it. I'll hit OK. Now in stroke we have to choose certain amount of color, so I'll select this red or something like purple, and then I'll hit OK. Then by holding shift, I'll create 1 point over here and 1 point over here, or let's say without shift, I'll click from 1 point to here, and from this end I can increase the stroke width like that. And for the resolution, if you want, then you can choose full, but I'm gonna choose the quarter one, so it will helpful to animate. Now I'll go to the contents, then I'll go to the add menu, and over here you will find this option called trim path. Then I'll simply click on it. I'll go over the trim path. We will get 3 options over here. One is start, one is end, and one is offset. So now we will see what are these. So first thing we need to understand that whenever we are going to create any stroke with the help of pen tool, it's a shape layer. So as you can see, my shape layer is from this end to this end, and trim path is helpful to manipulate the stroke which is inside the shape layer. For example, suppose I am going to increase the value of start. So if you see properly, the end of my shape layer is still here. It's just helpful to animate this stroke, not the whole shape layer. So as you can see, I can manipulate the start value and I can manipulate the end value of both of them. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna decrease the end value first. I'll create one keyframe over here. I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it so we can see some another options, and I'll hide it. I'll select this one and I'll go to around 1.5 seconds and I'll make it 100, just like that. So if I hit play, as you can see, we'll get this kind of animation. And now after a certain point, at this point I'll create one keyframe on the start, and I'll create another keyframe over here, and this start I'll make it 100 over here. So as you can see, first this animation is running and then this one, So I'll get this kind of animation if I select both of them and then I'll hit F9. So as you can see, we will get this kind of smoothness over here, like that. Now this is the start and end property. Now we will focus on what is offset. So for that, I'll hide this one and I'll enable this one. I'll go over here to the contents and then trim path. And now what is the use of this? Let's say my end value is 55 and start value is suppose something like that. Now I want this if I want the continuous looping animation, I'll delete this keyframe first. Now with the help of offset, I can move this thing on this entire shape layer, which is from here to here, and with the help of trim path we can manipulate this stroke. So if I change the value of my offset, as you can see, we'll get this kind of stuff. So offset is useful for that. With the help of we can use create looping animation. For suppose at the 0 frame I'm going to create one keyframe over here, and at 4 seconds suppose I'll make it one complete rotation, and I'll hit N over here to trim my composition. Now if I hit play, as you can see, we will get this kind of looping animation. Now to go a little bit further, what I'll do, I'll select this layer and I'll delete this for now. I'll select this shape layer and then I'll go to the shape layer, I'll go to the stroke one, and in over here I'll get all the stroke options like color, opacity, stroke width. You can adjust it from here also. Now over here we will get this option which is called line cap and butt cap. Instead of that, I'll choose round cap. So as you can see, the corners are round now. So if I see this animation now, we'll get something like this. I'll hit U to reveal my keyframes. I'll select all the keyframes. I'll go to the graph editor and then I'll select those keyframes, and with the help of shift I'll move these handles like that. So you'll get this kind of animations. Now I'll go in the middle of them. I'll select this layer. I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. I'll choose my selection tool and I'll increase the stroke width for this one, and I'll change the color of this one to blue, and I'll move this thing over here. Again I'll hit Ctrl D, select this layer, hit Ctrl D. I'll move this thing over here and let's change the color like that. Decrease the stroke width like that. Select this middle one, hit Ctrl D, drag it at the top. I'll move this thing over here. I'll change the color. Hit Ctrl D, move this thing over here. I'll change the color like that. Now zoom in a little bit and we can move these things like that. And now suppose if I hit play, I'll get this kind of animation. Now I'll hit Ctrl A to select all of them. I'll hit Ctrl D and I'll drag it at the top and I'll move them a little bit forward, all of them. So as you can see, we are getting something like that. Now I'll choose my text tool and I'll type motion over here, which is my text. I'll select this text. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. Then I'll go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. I'll press S on my keyboard to increase the scale. And I'll move this thing over here. At this point I want this to be happier, so I'll move this thing over here and I'll simply drag it down. So now if I see my animation, I'll get something like this. So as you can see, this is a very basic animation you can do with the trim path. Now this is our trim path section. Now we will focus on our repeaters. So I'll hit Ctrl N on my keyboard to create a new composition, and I'll create a new composition with called repeater. I'll type rep only just like that. Then again I'm gonna select the stroke and I'll create one stroke from here to here, and I'll decrease the font width. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. Now then again I'll go to the contents and add menu, and I'll choose this repeater. So whenever we are going to choose repeater, as you can see, we'll get something like that. If I go to the repeater, it will have two options, one is copies and one is offset. Offset is also like this offset which we have in trim path. Now with the help of copies, obviously you can increase the number of copies. Suppose I am gonna choose 8, like that. And in transform repeater you will get another options. As you can see, the position on x-axis is 100. I'll make it 0, and on y-axis suppose I'll increase the value. As you can see, we'll get this something like that. If you increase the number of copies, as you can see, we will get this kind of options over here. Now then again we have something like scale, we have something like rotation and start opacity and end opacity. Now with the help of this option we will create one simple animation. I'll delete this for now. I'll choose my ellipse tool. I don't want any stroke for now, and what I'll do, I'll create one ellipse. With the help of my ellipse tool, I'll press something like that. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center. Then I'll go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. Then we will add our repeater. Go to the repeater 1, and over here I am gonna increase the copies up to, let's say, 300. And then I'll go to the transform repeater, and then position on x-axis I'll type 0 and y-axis also 0. Now over here you can adjust the anchor points of that, but before that what we will do, as you can see my copies are 300. So in rotation, what I'll do over here, I'll type 360 divided by, so I'll do slash and I'll type 300, like that. And if I change the position, as you can see, we'll get something like that. Over here I'm gonna decrease or increase the scale, and I can simply move the anchor point also. And let's say I'm gonna decrease the scale to 99. Also you can change the position of it. And you can change the position of this anchor point like that. Let's make the position 0. And as you can see, if you change the position of anchor point, you will get something like that. Let's make this 101 or 100.5, which is our scaling option, or even more than that. .2, let's say 100.3. Now I'll go to the ellipse path 1, I'll go to the size and I'll decrease the size. So as you can see, we'll get something like that. I'll select the shape layer, I'll press S for scaling option and I'll scale it down like this. So as you can see, with the help of this repeater, you can manipulate the repeaters and their transform properties like scale, rotation, etc, etc. And over here you can, with the help of these copies, you can animate this thing also like that. And if I change the rotation like that, so as you can see what we will get, and I can decrease the scale according to like that. Now suppose if I choose this as 97.3, and with the help of these anchor points I can manipulate them also like that. I move this thing over here I'll create one keyframe on anchor point and one keyframe on copies. Hit U so we can see both of them, and I'll go to around 1 second. Again I'll create another keyframes. At the start I'll make this 0. Now if we hit play, we'll get something like this. I'll move this thing from there to there, like that. Now I'll delete this anchor point over here. I'll hit Ctrl D, I'll hit U, select those anchor points, keyframes, go over here, and I'll move this over here. Now select this and you can shift the anchor point like that, and you can change the colors like that. So you'll get something like this. Now I'll select both of them. I'll press Ctrl Shift C and I'll call it the circle. I'll select both of them. I'll hit Ctrl D, I'll press R, and if I rotate it, let's say -20. Again I'll hit Ctrl D, I'll press R, I'll rotate it on -40. Hit Ctrl D, R, let's make it -860. Let's see how it looks. It will look like that. I'll hit Ctrl D, R, let's make it -80. Hit Ctrl D, R, let's make it -100. Now I'll select all of them. I'll hit Ctrl D, I'll drag it at the top, I'll press R for all of them, and I'll manually rotate it from here until unless I'm getting something like this. I'll hit Ctrl D again, I'll drag them at the top, I'll press R on my keyboard, and I'll rotate them unless until we'll get something like this. So if we hit play now, we'll get something like that. Now there is another tip. I'm gonna show you what we can do. I'll hit page down button 2 times. I'll select all of them, Alt close bracket, which is a square bracket, right click, go to the keyframe assistance, go to the sequence layers and simply hit OK. Zoom out and move this composition from here to here. So if we hit play now, as you can see, with the help of this repeater, we can manipulate our shapes and animate it like that. So in this video we have learned about the trim path and how with the help of trim path you can create some simple animations, and we have also learned about the thing which we also call a repeater, and with the simple use of this repeater we can create so many different animation. In our next videos we will use both of them like trim path and repeater to create different animations, but to make you understand what is the concept of them, I have created this tutorial. So here we are in Adobe After Effects. As always, I'll create a new composition and I'll name this composition as my main animation, and settings are same as last time, 1920 at 180 frame rate. I'll choose 30 seconds and duration is also 30 seconds, and background color I'll choose black color, and then I'll hit OK. So our composition is ready now. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm select this pen tool, and for the stroke width I'll choose 10 pixels and I'll hit OK, and I'll choose grid and guide option and title safe action, and with the help of shift I'll create one stroke. So I'll select this layer, I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Then I'll go to the Align tab, align it horizontally, and then I'll align it vertically like that. Again I'll select them and press Ctrl Alt Home. Now we will go to our add menu, and first we will choose Zig Zag. So as you can see, whenever we are going to choose this, we will get some little difference over here. We will get the stroke in zigzag pattern. Then we will go to the zigzag one. Over here we will get option for size. So with the help of that you can increase the size of it. Writes per segment, so you can decrease and increase the segments. and then you will get this points corner where you can choose corner or smooth. So you get something like that. Then after that you are free to add any other thing, like suppose I'm gonna add trim path over here, and now if I animate this trim path, as you can see we will get something like this. Now suppose I'm gonna make this 0 over here, I'll create one keyframe and I'll create one keyframe on the start. I'll zoom in a little bit, I'll go to around 1.5 seconds, and property I'll make it 100 and start property I'll make it 100, and I'll select those start keyframes and I'll just move them a little bit forward. So if I hit play now, we will get something like this. Yep. So now I'm gonna delete those things and I'll make the start 0, which is our initial thing. Now I'm gonna delete this zigzag. So as you guys know what is zigzag, so I'll delete it. Then we have another thing called wiggle path. If I create it, as you can see, again we are getting some change over here. If I hit play now, as you can see, we'll get a little bit of animations also. So let's see what is in it. If I go to the wiggle path, first thing is obviously for size, we can increase the size of it, and now if we hit play, as you can see, we'll get this kind of animations. Details means what how many points do you want in that. So I'll make it something like 12, and same options, like suppose I can choose smooth. Wiggle per second, it's basically a speed, I can increase and decrease the speed also, etc, etc. And then there are another options which just change the pattern of it, nothing much more excited as compared to this. And then this random seed is basically to change the pattern of it, like suppose I'll select this layer and I'll hit Ctrl D. With the help of moving tool, I'll move this over here. So as you can see, the pattern is same. So now suppose I want to change the pattern, what I'll do, I'll go to the contents, I'll go to the wiggle path one, and a random seeds I'll choose 1, let's say. So as you can see, with the help of this we can change the pattern of it, just like that. You can change something like that. Yeah, so this is wiggle path. I'll delete this also, and same over here you can and again animate this trim path, but make sure that your trim path is after the wiggle path. If it's on the top, you will get something like this if it is after the wiggle path. And now if I animate it, as you can see, we will get a difference. So make sure that trim path is after your main wiggle or zigzag pattern, then only it will animate the stroke. Otherwise, if it's at the top, then it will animate this wiggle path also. So keep in mind that your trim path, it should be after this wiggle path one. So this is our wiggle path. I'll delete it now. Now we will focus on our third option, which is called twist. So I'll click on it. As you can see, we'll get something like that. If I hit click on this twist, I can change the angles. So with the help of that, we will get something like this. I'll select the shape layer, I'll press S for scaling option, and I'll scale it a little bit. Then again I'll go to the contents, twist, and I can increase it. I can change the center of it. So with the help of that, we can manipulate the settings like that. As I said, make sure that your trim path is after the effect, otherwise it will act like this. So what I'm gonna do, I'll simply select this trim path and I'll drag it below. And now what we can animate here is that I'll make this 50, and for the start property also I'll make it 50. I'll create one keyframe over here and one keyframe over here, and around 4 seconds I'll make the start 0 and make this 100 end 100. So we'll get something like this. Now in the search bar, I'll type stroke. I'll create one keyframe over here and I'll hit U now to reveal all my keyframes. Initially stroke width I'll make 0. Hit K to move this anchor point to the forward direction, and let's make it something like that. Yeah, this looks good to me. So if I hit play, we'll get something like that. Now we'll go to the shape options, and in the stroke, instead of butt cap, I'll choose round cap. I'll hit U again, I'll select all the keyframes and I'll simply hit F9. So if we hit play now, we'll get something like this. Now there is another thing we can do. You can hit Ctrl D again and I'll change the color into red. Then I'll hit Ctrl D again, I'll change the color into blue. Then I'll hit Ctrl D again, I'll change the color into green. And then I'll hit Ctrl D again and I'll change the color in white. Now what I'll do, I'll simply adjust them. I'll zoom in a little bit and I'll adjust it like that. Now if I hit play, we'll get this kind of colory animations over here. So yep, with the help of twist, zigzag and these things, you can manipulate your stroke like that. You can play around with these options and you can try different animations. As always, here we are in Adobe After Effects. Now we will create one new composition and we will call this composition as main animation. Width is 1920, height is 180, frame rate is 30, duration is 30 seconds, and background color I'll choose white color and simply I'll hit OK, and then I'll hit OK. I'll choose grid and guide option and then I'll hit title section. Then I'll hit Ctrl I on my keyboard to import our logo file. I have this logo over here. You can easily get this logo from Google or you can download any other logo, but I'll select this because this is black in color, so it will be easy to animate it. So I'll select this and simply I'll import it. As you can see, my logo is appeared in my project window. Now I'll simply drag and drop in my main animation comp. Then I'll press S for scaling option and I'll scale it a little bit like that, and with the help of shift I'll adjust the position like that. So I'll initially hide this logo, then I'll go to my shape options and I'll choose my ellipse tool. I don't need any stroke, so I'll delete this stroke, and for the fill I'll choose black color, then I'll hit OK. Now with the help of shift hold, I'll create one ellipse like that. Then I'll select the shape layer, I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center, and then I'll deselect this layer. Then I'll select this layer again, I'll go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. Now P for position, I'll create one keyframe at the start. I'll zoom in a little bit and I'll go around 20 frames, and again I'll create one keyframe. Now at the start I'll press V to select my selection tool, and with the help of shift I'll drag this thing on the top. So if I hit play now, we will get this kind of animation, but this is just a normal animation. So I'll select those keyframes and then I'll hit F9 on my keyboard to ease those keyframes. Then I'll go to my graph editor and I'll select this graph and I'll move this handle over here and this handle over here. So if I hit play, as you can see, we will get this kind of falling animation of this ellipse. Now I'll go over here, I'll select my logo and I'll unhide it, and with the help of open square bracket I'll simply move this logo over here. Now I'll create one keyframe on the scale over here and around 20 frame forwards, which is 1.10 frames, 1 second and 10 frames. I'll again create another keyframe. I'll go over here and I'll bring down the scale something like that. I'll select those keyframes and again I'll hit F9 to ease those keyframes. Then I'll go to the graph editor, I'll select this graph and with the help of shift I'll move this handle over here and this handle over here. So we'll get this kind of pop-up like that. Now at this point I'll select the shape layer, I'll press Ctrl Shift D to split these layers and I'll simply delete this. So if we hit play now, we will get this kind of animation. Now I'll again choose my ellipse tool and then I'll delete this fill, and over here stroke color I'll choose black color and simply hit OK. And for the stroke width I'll choose, let's say, 60 pixels, and with the help of shift I'll create one ellipse like that. Then I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align the anchor point to the center, and then I'll deselect this layer, I'll select this layer again and align it at the center and open square bracket, press S for scaling option and I'll create one keyframe initially, and in the search bar I'll type stroke So as you can see, we can get this stroke width option. I'll create one keyframe, then I'll hit U and I'll go around, let's say 2 seconds. I'll increase the scale and I'll make it 0. And at the start I'll make the scale 0 and the stroke width, let's say 60 pixels only. So if we hit play, we will get this kind of animation. At this point the stroke width should be 0. I'll select those keyframes and then I'll hit F9 to erase those keyframes. Then I'll go to the graph editor. With the help of shift, I'll move this handle over here, then move this handle over here. So as you can see, we will get this kind of animation. With a simple pop-up animation. Now there is another addition you can do. We can choose our pen tool, and for that stroke width I'll choose, let's say 5 pixels, and then from here to here I'll create one stroke like that. Then we will go to the trim path. In contents, in add, we will choose this trim path, and in trim path let's make this end 0 and create one keyframe on the end and one keyframe at the start, and then around 20 frames I'll make both of them 100 and select the start keyframes and just move them a little bit forward. So we'll get this kind of animation. Now select those keyframes and then hit F9. Go to the graph editor, select this graph, zoom in a little bit and move this handle over here and this handle over here. So if we hit play now, we'll get this kind of pop-up. Now what I'll do, I'll go to my add menu and then I'll choose repeater. So as you know, repeater will create multiple copies. So in copies I'll choose, let's say 20, and I'll go to the transform repeater 1, and if I decrease the position totally up to 0, let's say, and in rotation, if we rotate it, as you can see, we'll get something like that. So now what we will do, in rotation I'll select this and I'll type 360 because circular degree is 360, and I'll divide it with 20 and then I'll hit OK. So now it will distribute all the strokes properly like that. So I'll move this thing over here. Like that. Hit U, select those keyframes and you can move them over here, so it will animate a little bit slow like that. And you can select those start keyframes and move them a little bit forward. So you will get this kind of animation. Now select all the layers and then enable this motion blur option, so you get a little bit motion blur in it. And then you can select this logo, press S, and at this point you can increase the scale of this logo a little bit. So if I hit play now, you'll get this kind of animation. I'll press N, then I'll press Ctrl Y on my keyboard to create a solid background, and I'll choose white color, hit OK and hit OK, and I'll simply drag it over here, hit U to hide all this layer. Then you can create one adjustment layer, and then you can simply apply tint effect on it, so you can swap these colors if you want, just like that. So you can change the color combinations of this animation the way you want. So yep, with the help of all our previous video knowledge, we have successfully created this simple pop-up logo animation. You can choose any logo you want. So this is for today's video. In the next video we will talk about the 3D layers and etc. We are in Adobe After Effects. We will create one new composition as always, and we will name it as main animation. Width is 1920, height is 180, frame rate is 30, duration I'll choose 15 seconds and background color is white and simply hit OK. Choose grid and guide option and hit title selection. Then I'll select this rectangle tool and with the help of shift I'll create one rectangle like that. Select this shape layer, press Ctrl Alt Home, which is a shortcut key to align that anchor point to the center. Then go to the align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. Now as you can see, we are getting these options over here. With the help of F4 you can simply switch between these options. Now over here as you can see, we have this 3D layers options. So to understand that, let's see in certain way. Like suppose I am going to select this layer and I'll press R, which is for rotation, and if I rotate it, as you can see, it's rotating in 2-dimensional space. Now if I enable this option, as you can see, we are getting this 3-axis rotations, X, Y and Z. So we can rotate it on any axis like that. Now we will enable these options. The first thing we will do, I'll select this layer and I'll hit enter to rename this. I'll name it as middle and hit OK. Then I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate that. I'll make this fit. I'll press Y to select my pen behind tool and with the help of Ctrl hold I'll move this thing over here and then I'll move this thing over here. Zoom in a little bit and with the Ctrl hold we can snap it on the edge of this one. I'll select this layer, I'll hit enter and I'll call it as, let's say, left, hit OK. Then hit Ctrl D. I'll press Y to select my pen behind tool and with the help of Ctrl hold I'll snap this anchor point at the edge of it. Then press V to select our selection tool and with the help of shift I'll grab it over here. Hold Ctrl and simply snap it on the edge of it like that. I'll select this layer, hit enter and I'll type over here is right and hit OK. Now select this middle one, I'll hit Ctrl D, I'll drag it at the top, hold Ctrl and you can simply snap it over here like that. Press Y to select our pen behind tool and with the help of Ctrl hold I'll drag this over here so it will help us to snap this at the edge. I'll select this layer and I'll hit enter to rename it and I'll call it as top and hit OK. Select this middle one, hit Ctrl D, press V to selection tool. With the help of Ctrl I'll drag it down so it will help me to snap it. Then Y to choose our pen behind tool. With the help of Ctrl I'll move this anchor point over here. Select this layer, hit enter and I'll call it as down and hit OK. Now I'll select this right one, press V to selection tool and hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. With the help of Ctrl hold I'll simply move this thing over here like that. Now all we need to do, we need to change the color of each and every one. So you are free to choose any color you want. Right now I'm gonna choose some random colors like that. So we will choose this colors. Now we are going to use one concept which is called parenting. Now what I'll do, as you can see, this is my right and this is my right too. So I'll select this right too and I'll make it a parent with this right one. So now whenever I'm gonna move this right anywhere, it will move with that. Hit Ctrl Z too. Now select all the layers and make it a parent with this middle one like that. So this is our main layer and all are parent with this main, which is our middle. Now I'll select all of them and then I'll convert those things into 3D and now I'll press R for rotation. Now I'll select this one on, let's say on Y axis, we have to rotate it on plus 90 degree. But as you can see, we cannot see from here. So for that, what we'll do, in this active camera, we will choose custom view 1. So we will get this parallel view. Now I'll select this one, which is our top, and on, I'll select this one, and on x-axis we have to rotate it on minus 90 degree. Then this one, which is at the down, we have to rotate it on plus 90. Then we have this one, we have to rotate it on y-axis, let's say minus 90. And then this is our remaining one, and we have to rotate it also minus 90 on y-axis. Now as you can see, our cube is ready. Now I'll choose my active camera, hit U to deselect all of them. Now go to the top view. So this is our top view. I'll select this middle one and I'll simply drag it over here. And then what we will do, we will right click, we will create one new, and then we will create one null object, and we will convert this null object into 3D. Hit enter and call this null object as controller. And now this middle one should be parent with this controller, like that. And now we will choose active camera. Now I'll select this controller, I'll press R for rotation, and if I rotate it, as you can see, we'll get this rotating cube animation. Now I'll create one keyframe on this x-axis, and let's say around 4 seconds we will create 1, 1 and 1. Now if I hit play, as you can see, we will get this rotating animation like that. Now we can simply alt click on it and we can type loop out expression on it. We will talk about these expressions in our next lecture, but right now all you need to do is simply alt click on the stopwatch after you apply your keyframes and type loop out expression, which is over here, and hit enter. Hit Ctrl A to select this expression, then hit Ctrl C, then alt click on the stopwatch, hit Ctrl V, alt click on the stopwatch and hit Ctrl V, like that. So we will get this looping animation for all of it, like that. Now I'll select all of them and then press Ctrl Shift C to pre-comp it and hit OK. So as you can see, we are getting this cube animation. Press S for scaling option and scale it like that. I'll scale it down a little bit. Hit Ctrl K to open our project settings, and we will decrease the height if you want. Let's say height is 1080, and hit Ctrl K again to open our project settings, and we will decrease the width of this composition like that. Hit OK and let's play. As you can see, we are getting something like that. Now we will create another composition, but before that we will hit Ctrl K again, and in the new composition name we will call this composition as cube and hit OK. Then I'll create another composition and we will call this composition as main animation, and width I'm gonna choose 1920, and then I'll hit OK, and we will simply drag this cube composition over here, then press S for scaling option and scale it down. Go to this cube, hit Ctrl K again, and I think we need to decrease the width a little bit again, like that. Yep, this looks good to me. Now we'll go to the main animation comp and we'll go to the effect and presets panel, and we will apply CC reptile effect and simply double click on it. So after applying this effect, as you can see, we will get this expand options at light, left, down, up. All you need to do, simply type over here, let's say 1500, or maybe even more than that. Select this value, hit Ctrl C. Over here hit Ctrl V. Also over here hit Ctrl V, or let's say 3368 and 3368. Now if I hit play, we will get this cubical animation over here. And now in repeat, if I choose this brick, we will get this alternatives options over here. And in this effect you can play around with this, so you will get some different results. So I would recommend that. And this, press Ctrl Y on keyboard to create one solid layer and drag it at the bottom, and let's say around 4 seconds I'll hit N to adjust the composition, timeline of this. So if I hit play, it will take a little bit time to load, but you will get this kind of looping animation when you hit N on 4 seconds, because our animation for this controller, if I hit Q over here, as you can see, we have one complete rotation on 1 second, so after that it will loop. And in our main animation, I'll hit N on 4 second to trim my what we call is timeline over here, or let's say time ruler or time work area. So we will get this continuous looping animation. So in this lecture we have learned about the 3D layers. We have created one successfully cube animation, and we have used expressions, we have used CC reptile effect, and with the help of all this knowledge we have beautifully created one background animation which is in the form of loop. We are in Adobe After Effects. We will create a new composition. As always, width I'll choose 1920, height I'll choose 180, frame rate we will choose, I'll hit Ctrl Alt N again to create a new composition. New file. 1920, height I'll choose 180, 1080, frame rate I'll choose 30 seconds, and I'll name this composition as my main animation as always, and duration is 30 seconds and background color is white color. And then I'll simply hit OK. I'll choose grid and guide option and then hit title selection. Then I'll select my text tool, and over here I don't want any strokes, so I'll delete this strokes. And over here I'll activate this fill color, and over here I'll choose this black color. And for the font, you are free to choose any font you want. I'll choose this font and I'll type some text, like let's call it as text effects. Hit Ctrl A to select all the text, and I'll increase the size like that. Select this text, press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Then we will go to the Align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically. Press S for scaling option again, like that. Now if you have seen my text video, as you can see, we can animate my text with the help of this animate option. If I click over here I'll get this kind of animation properties for my text. But After Effects provides some pre-made effects, so we don't need to animate them manually. If you want to animate them manually, like suppose you want to create any effect by your choice, then you can easily go through all of this. I've already created video on it. I'll provide you the link in the description. But if you don't want to waste your time in this, then After Effects have provided some cool effects. All you need to do, just go to the effect and presets panel, and in animation presets over here you have to click over here. Then you have so many effects. Over here you will find one thing called text, then click on it, and these are some animation text. Like suppose I'm gonna click on this one, and over here as you can see we have one folder icon and then FX. It means this is a proper effect. Now suppose I'm gonna click any of it, and you have to select this layer. There are two ways to apply this effects or any effect. Simply double click. As you can see, you will get some change here, and you will select this text, and if you hit U, as you can see we have some keyframes. Now if I hit play, as you can see we are getting this effect. I'll hit Ctrl Z. Over here you will get this so many effects. Like I'll double click on this first one and I'll hit U. Over here I'll hit U. As you can see we are getting this text effects, and if you manipulate those texts, all you need to do, select those keyframes and simply hit F9. And as always, with the help of Alt hold, you can change the position of those keyframes like that. Hit Ctrl Z, like that. So I'll hit F4 to show what is exactly happening. As you can see, this is not a 3D layer now, but whenever I'm gonna select this, and as you can see here is written that it's 3D text. So whenever you are going to apply this on it, as you can see it will convert this layer into 3D. And if you hit U, as you can see we'll get this kind of animations. But this is just a one section of it. You will get this many sections. Over here you can choose any effect you want. Like in mechanical, I'll choose suppose algorithm, and let's see what will happen. I'll hit U again, select this layer and hit U. As you can see, we are getting this kind of animations. So I will suggest you should go through all of them. Even I don't know some of them, but it's fun to watch all of this. So this is the one option which is provided by After Effects only. And there are some another things that you need to know about the text effect is that animation composer. I'll provide you the link of this animation composer plugin, which is totally free, which is provided by Mr. House. So after installing that, you can go to the Windows and animation composer, and if you click on it, you will get this type of panel. Now this is not just for text effect, but it provides some different options also. But right now, because this video is about text effects, we will focus on only text effects. We will go in depth about the animation composer in my further video. Right now over here, as you can see in transition presets, over here we are getting some effects like 2D layer transformation, 2D layer, and over here we will have this text. Now if I go to the text, animation character, animation lines, and animation words, which is basically this one is for characters. As you can see, if you are gonna select any of it, over here you will get this icon, and if you click on it, you can preview the animations which are provided by this one. So how we can apply, let's see. First thing you need to do, you need to select this text effects, then again go over here. Over here you have some sections. Right now I'll go in scale options, and over here we have basic, and these are some actual effects. If you click any out of it, you will get the preview over here. And after that, all you need to do, select your text layer and then simply double click on it. So as you can see, the effect is applied and you will get this much options, and over here you will get this icon which is transition in, and if you hit spacebar, as you can see, we will get this smooth text animations. Over here you will not find any keyframe, so if you want to manipulate this length of this animation, all you have to do, you can simply move this thing anywhere you want. So with the help of that, you can manipulate the animations like that. And over here I'll hit Ctrl Z to get rid of it. This is the character. You will get so many animations over here. Similarly, in animation lines, you will find some another animations like for basic. If I double click again, as you can see, with the help of that we can manipulate the speed. Same in the animation words, you will find this thing. So these are some cool looking text animations which are provided by Animation Composer. I'll provide you the link in my description. You can simply go there and you can download it for Windows. Here we are in Adobe After Effects. Let's create a new composition. As always, we will call it as main animation. Width I'll choose 1920, height 180, frame rate 30, duration 30 seconds, and background color you are free to choose any color you want. I am gonna choose black color and simply hit OK. Go to choose grid and guide option and hit title section. I'll make this fit like that. Now first thing we will do, we will type our text and we will type text whatever we want. I'll type AG motion designs, hit Ctrl A. I'm gonna choose some different font over here, something like that. Select this text, press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Then go to the Align tab, align it horizontally and then align it vertically like that. Now select this text. Now either you can choose effect and presets and then text effects, and you can choose Animation Composer. We will create two text animation, one with the help of this text effect and one with the help of Animation Composer. For this one I'll choose Animation Composer, so I'll go over here in transition presets. I'll go to the text, and over here as you can see we have these three sections. So out of which I'm going to choose this words. And let's manipulate the position property. And in position, as you can see, we will get this kind of stuff. So I'll select this one, and inside that, let's see what we have. We have one from bottom and one from left, so I'll choose this left one. So I'll simply double click on it. As you can see, that effect is applied. I don't want any effect from here, so I'll close this one now. And if we hit play, as you can see, we will get this kind of animation, but this animation is little bit faster, so I'll move this indicator over here, so we'll get some smooth animation like that. Now I'll hide this for now, and then we will choose our rectangle tool, and over here I'll choose red color, or let's see, blue color, something like that, and hit OK. Choose some darker version of this blue like that, and hit OK, and create one rectangle like that. Press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Select this rectangle and adjust the position properly. Then hit Ctrl D and go to this rectangle content, rectangle 1, rectangle path, and over here we will find the scale. Unlink this option and select this rectangle, and I don't want any fill for this duplicate, so I'll delete the fill. The only thing I want over here is stroke, and I'll choose white color for the stroke and hit OK. And for the stroke width, I'll choose, let's say, 2 pixels like that. And in the rectangle path 1, I'll increase the size from here and increase the size from here. Yep, this looks good to me. Now we will go to the add menu and we will choose trim path. Go to the trim path and let's make it, let's say, 50 like that. I'll create one keyframe on offset. Hit U so we can see that keyframe. Zoom in a little bit in our timeline and go to around 14 seconds, and let's make it 5 rotations. So as you can see, we will get this continuous animation like that. Now after that, I'll go to ellipse tool, and over from here I'll choose, with the help of this picker, I'll choose this color, and I'll choose a little bit darker version of this color like that, and hit OK. With the help of shift, I'll create one ellipse, then press Ctrl Alt Home. Oops, sorry, I'll hit Ctrl Z, and with the help of shift, I'll create one ellipse like that. Press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Go to the align tab and align it only vertically like that. Select this ellipse. I don't want any stroke for this one, so I'll delete the stroke. Hit Ctrl D. I don't want any fill for this one. Over here I want stroke, so I'll choose white color and stroke is 2 pixels. Press S for scaling option, and you can scale it from here. For this one, you can increase the stroke width if you want. I'll choose something like that and press S for scaling option like this. Select this shape layer and make it apparent with this second one, which is our ellipse. Press S and scale it at appropriate size like that. Yep, this looks good to me. Now select this ellipse with the stroke. Go to the add menu. Over here I'll choose trim path. Go to the trim path and let's make it 70 and create one keyframe on offset. Hit U. As you can see, at 40 seconds I have this keyframe which is 4. Let's make it 2. So as you can see, we will get this 2 animations over here like that. Now select this text. As you can see, my text is at the bottom, so we will drag it at the top like that. Press V for selection tool and I'll move my text over here like that. Press S. You can increase the size. I'll go to the character. Instead of semi-bold, I'll choose regular version of this font like this. Then press Ctrl Alt Home. Move this thing somewhere around here like that. Then as you can see, this is my rectangle. I'll hit Ctrl D. I'll select the last one. I'll drag it over here. Press S for scaling option. Unlink this. Scale it like that. And I'll move this over here. And I'll choose some different color for this one like that. Let's make it 5. Select this, move this over here. Select this, hit Ctrl D, press P for position, drag it over here, move this thing over here like that. Yep, as you can see, we'll get something like that. Now after that, what we will do, we will go to our Windows. Whenever we are going to install the animation composer, we will get this animation composer, anchor point mover, keyframe, wingman, preview grid, transition shifter, etc, etc. You can find so many tutorials about it on YouTube, out of which I'm gonna choose this anchor point mover. So what is the use of that? Let's see. Suppose I'm gonna select this, not this one but this one, and I want to move this anchor point at the edge of it. So I'll select this and I'll click over here. So as you can see, we can easily manipulate the anchor point. Same procedure we will follow for all of them, I mean for all the rectangles that we have. And for the ellipse we don't need to change anything. Now I'll hide this text. Now we have to animate all of them. So for that, what we will do, instead of stroke, we don't need to animate the stroke. So if you want to differentiate the stroke, then all you can do, simply go over here and change the colors for the stroke, and I'll hide this for now. Similarly, over here we have this stroke layer. So for this one also, I'm gonna choose red. So yep, my strokes are in red and my shape layers are in this what we call blue color. Sorry. Now we will select all the rectangles, then press S for scaling option and unlink them, and create one keyframe at the start. Go to around, let's say 1.5 seconds and create one keyframe again. Go to the start, and on x-axis I'll make it 0, 0 and 0. So we'll get something like that. Then select those keyframes and hit F9, and we will link this again. And then we will go to the graph editor. We will select these handles with the help of shift. We will adjust it like that. So if we see now, we will get something like this. Now we will go to the shape layer, I mean the stroke layers. As you can see, sorry, this is our ellipse. We don't need to animate this ellipse, so I'll delete the keyframes of ellipse. All we need to animate is this rectangles. Now we will animate this ellipse. We don't need to unlink this. Simply create one keyframe over here and one keyframe over here. Go to the start and let's make it 0. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph, and with the help of shift we will move this over here like that. And for this stroke, what we can do, we can add another trim path over here. Now we have this trim path 1 and trim path 2. We will go to this trim path 2. Initially let's make it 0, create one keyframe, go a few frames forward, and let's make it 100 again. Select those keyframes and hit F9. That's it. So we will get this pop-up animation, I mean appearance over here. Now we have to adjust the positions of each and every layer. So I'll hit page down button 2 times. I'll select the 6th layer, and with the help of open bracket I'll move this over here. Hit page down button again, move this over here. Again hit page down button again. Page down is useful to move this time indicator 1 frame forward like that. So we will get something like this. Now I'll select my unhide this text layer. Now as you can see, this is my rectangle. I'll hit Ctrl D and I'll drag it at the top, hit enter, and I'll call this layer as mask. Now I'll select my text layer, I'll press F4 and I'll make it alpha mask. So we will get this animation over here, and I'll move this layer over here. So as you can see, we will get something like this. Now I'll select this text and I'll drag it somewhere over here. So we will get this kind of animation. If you want to increase the length, you are free to do that. And in the circle, if you want to add another text, you can simply hit Ctrl T to select our text tool. You can add another title like title. Hit Ctrl A to select this text. Go to the para. I'll choose center text. Select this text. Move this over here. Press S for scaling option. Hit Ctrl T. Select this title text. Go to the character and instead of regular, I'll choose bold. And I'll increase the size little bit like that. Select this text, press Ctrl Alt Home, move this over here like that. I don't think we need to add this, it will look ugly, but if you want then you can do so. And in the animation presets you can simply apply any text effect you want. Hit U. As you can see, we have so many text effects over here, but I would not recommend to add this kind of text at least at this point. This looks good to me, and with the help of that, this is our lower third animation. Now what we are gonna use it, hit Ctrl A, press Ctrl Shift C, and we will call this animation as lower third and hit OK. Now you can press S for scaling option and scale it, and you can move this thing over here, and you can run any video and you can use this as a lower third animation. And this is for this type of animations are generally used to show the naming of whoever the person is gonna be on your video. So with the help of animation composer and this kind of text and effects, we can create this type of lower third animations and title animations. Let's create a new composition. We will call it as main animation. Width I'll choose 1920, height is 180, frame rate 30, duration 30 seconds, and background color is black color, and hit OK. Now we have to look at what is camera. So camera only works with the 3D objects. So first we have to create some 3D objects in our what we call this main composition. So I'll choose rectangle tool. You are free to choose any shape you want. Right now for only explanation, I'm gonna choose this rectangle. If you want to know how to manipulate and create 3D objects, you can check out my 3D cube video. Link is available in the description. And now with the help of this, I'm gonna click on this object. If you're not gonna see this options over here, you can simply press F4 to switch between these two what we call options. One is for track matte and one is for this motion blur and 3D. So over here, as you can see, we have this 3D layer. Allow this layer to manipulate it in 3 dimensions. So if I click on it, as you can see, now this layer is converted into 3D. I'll press R for rotation. So as you can see, we are getting 3 dimensions for rotation, but we are not gonna focus on this rotation or anything. Right now we will focus only on their duplicate and we will adjust their positions. So over here, if you see, we have these 2 options. One is active camera and one is view. If I click on this one view means basically this will show only one view, which is our active camera. As you can see, it's written over here also. If I click on it, if I see 2 horizontal views, as you can see, this is the top view and this is the active camera view. If I choose 4 views, as you can see, we will get each an individual look, which is right, front, top and active camera. So I'll choose one view for now, and in active camera you can manipulate this left, top, back, etc, etc. So right now I'm gonna click on this one. I'll choose my selection tool. I'll hit Ctrl D and I'll move this over here. Again I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. I'll move this over here. Again I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, and again Ctrl D to duplicate it. Now as you can see, if I hit P, select all of them and hit P for position. As you can see, these are their positions. Now we can easily manipulate these things on Z direction. So to do that, there are two ways you can do that with the help of this position properties over here. As you can see, last property is 0, which is the z directions, because I have duplicated it and I have manipulated only x and y direction of it but not z direction. That's why all the z axis are 0. If I go to the top view, as you can see, I'm gonna get this something like that. If I select this one, with the help of this Z handle, I can adjust it. As you can see, the value is changed. Same procedure I'll follow for other things like that. I'll move this over here, and this one I'll move this over here also. Then choose active camera. So as you can see, the Z position of each and every individual is now changed. I'll hit U. Now we will focus on our main subject, which is camera. So right click, new, and here we will choose camera. So over here you will get the options like film size, angle of view, zooming strength, etc, etc. Here over here we have presets. I'll choose 50 mm and you can name this. I'll choose camera only, like that. And units, over here you will get pixels, inches, millimeters. I'll choose millimeters. Generally I don't change any settings over here, which is our default settings, so I'll hit OK. So now our camera is ready, but as you can see, we cannot see camera over here because we are seeing through this camera. If you see over here, as you can see, we can see the active camera. Now in this options 3D view pop-up, I'll go to the top view. As you can see, we have this option over here, and if I zoom out, as you can see, we have this camera. Our camera is over here, and this is the view of this camera. Now I'm gonna choose two horizontal views. At this one, at this view is top view, and instead of that I'll choose active camera view. So in this section we can see the things from the top, and in this sections we can see through the eyes of this camera. Now if I select this camera and hit P for position, as you can see, if I move this on Z direction, you can see what is happening. You can easily manipulate this camera on this directions also. So with the help of that, you can do this kind of 3D animations like that. As you can see, with the help of that we can create some beautiful animations. So these are the options of camera, and if I hit AA on it, you will get some another options. To check it out, let's see what we have. Over here you will have this zooming strength. As you can see, if I increase the zooming value, it will zoom on a particular object or anything. And over here you will get these options, which is very important to learn, which is our depth of field. So let's see what we have. If I right now, by default it's off because it's a quite heavy option. So if I click on it, as you can see, we have some extra options over here. Suppose if I off this, as you can see, we are not getting anything, and if I on this, you will get these options over here. Now over here we have focus distance. As I decrease the value, as you can see, this option is decreasing. So basically it's saying that on which portion you want to focus. Now I'll move this until I get this line over here, which is this rectangle. Suppose I'll move this over here. So right now my camera is focused on this object. Now then we have aperture. If I increase the aperture value, as you can see, now this camera is focused on this one and other things are out of focus, which is quite a blurrish. So this is the value or use of aperture, and you can easily increase the blur value and etc. Now if I move this camera from over here, as you can see, we will get something like that. And if I move this backward, as you can see, now this line is on near to this one. That's why this one is clear and another one is what we can say blurrish. If I move this a little bit forward, now as you can see, this lies on this rectangle, so that's why this one is in the focus and etc etc. Now over here there are so many options. I have still not used all of them, but you can check it out. But these are some important options like zoom, depth of field, etc, etc. Now this is what we do with the camera. Now you can do another things with that. You can create a null object. You can convert that null object into 3D, and you can select this camera and make it a parent with this null, and then you, with the help of this null object, you can move the camera the way you want and press R for rotation, and you can do, as you can see, you can do some interesting animations with the help of this null object and camera combinations. Like suppose if I get 0, create 0, I'll choose now active camera, and over here I'll choose, let's say 2. I'll choose one view only. So as you can see, we can create some interesting animations like that. I'll hit N over here. So this is the basic use of what we can say the camera. If I double click on it, and I can move the focus distance over here, so it will focus on the middle object, etc, etc. So that's the use of camera. Now there is another thing we need to learn about this viewport is lights. So whenever you are going to create 3D subjects, or if you have ever used 3D softwares, you will find some lights over there. So simply right click, new, and over here you will get this options called light. If you click on it, you will get something like this. There are 4 types of light. One is parallel, spot, point, and ambient. So first we will focus on parallel. From this one you can choose any color you want, and over here you can choose intensity of light, and you can hit OK. So parallel light is basically, it's from name itself, it's parallel. It will cast the light on each and every object. If I double click A on this light, it will show me all the options of these lights, which is our same options when we created this settings. As you can see, it have some options like radius, etc, etc, fall off. Now if you see over here you can change the type of this light. Over here, as you can see, we have parallel. We can change into spot. Spotlight is basically, it will provide you light for a particular region. If I see this thing from the top, as you can see, we will get something like this. I'll choose this selection tool, and with the help of this handle you can adjust the light, and with the help of this anchor point you can adjust the spot of that light. I'll go to the camera view. As you can see, you can manipulate the position with the help of this light. Now let's press P for position. I'll create one keyframe, hit U. At this point I'll select this light and I'll move this over here. So if I see this thing now, as you can see, we'll get something like that, but that's not proper concern we have for this light. So I'll go to the light options, and then another one is point light. Point light is basically a single light source, and its effect is depend on its intensity and its radius. If you increase the radius and intensity, as you can see, we will get some more options like that. You can change the color of the light if you want, like that. I'll delete this light over here, we don't need that animation. Right click, new, and I'll create another light. And then another one is ambient. Hit A. This light is presence in screen, but you cannot see the position of this light. If you hit P, as you can see, you are not gonna get any position because this light is present in the screen, but you will not get any position property and etc. So you can't manipulate this light with the help of position and etc, but you can change the settings of intensity and etc, like green. So basically it will apply all the things in your scene. So these are the 4 lights that we have. Sorry, we have this 4 lights. One is parallel, spot, point, and ambient. So that's all the basic concepts of our camera and lights. As we go further, we will learn how to use these options in a proper way. Here in Adobe After Effects, I have created this main animation comp as always. Width is 1920, height is 180, background is black, and duration is 30 seconds, and I think frame rate is also 30 seconds. So whenever you want to import anything, there are two ways. Either you can hit simply Ctrl I and choose your file from wherever you want, and you can simply double click on this blank space of this project window. By chance, if you are on some other panels like effect control, simply hit Ctrl 0 to project window and simply double click over here and choose whatever files you want to import. Like right now I want to choose this comp one, which is a video file. You can choose whether it's a PNG file or anything. You can simply select this file and simply hit import, and then you can drag and drop in your main animation comp. I'll delete this file over here, and now this is the very basic importing settings, but at certain points you have to import Illustrator files and Photoshop files, etc, etc. So let's see how we can do that. Now over here I have this Illustrator file, which is a very basic file, like one rectangle is on one layer and one circle is on the another layer. Then I'll save this file, and then I'll go to the After Effects. I'll simply double click or simply hit Ctrl I on my keyboard, and then I'll select this untitled one, which is same file. The height width of this file is 1920 by 180. You can choose whatever size you want. Right now, for the sake of explanation, I have created this normal file. You can simply select this file over here, and over here you can see this import as and footage. In footage you have to choose this composition, retain layers and sizes, and simply hit import. Now because of that, what will happen if I double click on it? As you can see, we have these two things on separate layers. Then you can simply but drag and drop this file in your main animation comp, and if I double click on it, then you will get these files on separate layers. You can simply animate this file like position, rotation, etc, etc. So this is how you should import our Illustrator file. Then this is just a normal file. You can import any complex file, like I have this files over here, and over here as you can see, each and every subject is on the separate layer. If I hit Ctrl I on my keyboard and if I select this file, import, I'll choose composition, retain layers and sizes, and I'll simply hit import. And if I drag and drop over here and if I double click on it, as you can see, each and everything is on the separate layer, and then you can easily animate this. If you want to see the tutorial of this illustration animation, it's available on my Hindi channel. I'll provide you the link of that also in the description. So this is the way you can import Illustrator files in After Effects. Now it's not necessary that as always you will get the Illustrator file to import. Sometimes you will find that you have to animate Photoshop files also. So the basic things is same. Like if I go to the Photoshop, I have this logo file, which is Behance logo file. Over here as you can see, each and every alphabet is on the separate layers. I'll hit Ctrl S to save this Photoshop file. If I go to the After Effects, I'll double click over here. Over here I have this Behance PSD. Same procedure I will follow. Composition, retain layers and sizes, and simply hit import. Over here I'm not gonna change anything over here, and I'll simply hit OK, and I'll drag and drop over here. I'll hit double click inside it, and if I hit Ctrl K, as you can see, the width and height is different because in Photoshop I have created. If I hit Ctrl Alt I to open the project settings, as you can see, it's in centimeters. If I go to the pixels, as you can see, the height width is same. And in After Effects also, if I hit Ctrl K, as you can see, the height width is same. So whatever height width is gonna be here, the same height width is gonna be in the After Effects. And over here as you can see, each and every file is on the separate layer and you can easily manipulate them. So this is the one way to animate those things. So with the help of that you can animate anything you want. If you want to know how I have created this Behance logo animation, this tutorial is available on this channel only. I'll provide you the link of that also in the description. If you want to check it out, you can. So that's it for the today's video. This is the way to import anything you want. In my further videos we will learn how we can import anything and how we can animate that. I have created this 6 compositions and one is for bonus round, and each composition is for separate expressions. So over here I'm gonna create one rectangle, and then I'll select this rectangle. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center, and then I'll press R for rotation. And to apply any expression you have to simply alt click on the stopwatch, and then you can type whatever over here. So what is expressions? Now as you can see, whenever I'm gonna alt click on something, you will get this written over here, transform dot rotation. So what does it actually mean? So it's a simple logic. Like if you go over here, as you can see we have these two options, contents, where they provide add menu and you can animate, and another one is transform, which provide all the necessity values. So in transform over here we can see the rotation. So basically it's saying that in transform you have certain properties called rotations and you have some values over there. So this is the basic meaning of expressions, that they are logically saying something. So now what we can do over here, our first expression is time. So I'll select this and I'll delete this, and I'll type time over here. And if I hit enter, as you can see, you are not gonna see any change, but what you can see over here, initially it's presenting 0 and at 1 second it's representing 1, because we have written what, time. So basically it's showing the time which from this time ruler. As you can see, when our time indicator is on 1, the rotation is 1, but it's actually rotating. If you see over here, as you can see, it's straight. To represent this, let's bring our one line over here, and let's say I'm on 5 seconds. As you can see, it's rotated. So it's taking values from this time indicator, which is 5 degree, and now it's rotated on 5 degree. Now there is another thing you can do with that. You can simply type star, which is basically into, and you can choose a particular amount for speed. Let's say suppose I'm choosing 30, and if I hit enter, as you can see, it's basically hit page down button to move forward like that. So what will happen over here, as you know, time, which means it's taking time from this time indicator. Like I'm on 2 seconds, so time into 30. If I open my calculator over here, what it's exactly saying, time, which is this time from time ruler, and this time is 2. So basically it's saying 2 into 30, and if I into it 60. So you can see value over here in rotation, we have 60 values. So this is the basic funda of this expressions. If I hit enter, as you can see, we will get this continuous animation. Let's say I'm gonna type 300, so it will move a little bit fast. So this is the use of time expression, and this is the concept of expression and this type expressions. So our second expression is loop out. So to understand that, let's see what we can do. I'll create one rectangle, and then I'll select this and I'll press Ctrl Alt Home again, and I'll go to around 2 seconds and I'll hit P. I'll create one keyframe over here. I'll go to around 3 seconds and I'll move this over here. Now if I alt click on it, as always, transform dot position, initial written text over here. Over here I'm gonna delete this and I'll type loop, and then we will get this type of loop in duration, loop out, etc. So if I hit enter on, not loop in but let's say loop out, I'll delete those extras. This is my expression. So from here, if I hit enter, as you can see, after the last keyframe, if I hit page down button, As you can see, it's taking the first keyframe and then again it will continuously follow the same keyframes. So this is basically for looping animations, but this is loop out, which means after the last keyframe they will again run the first animation. But if you see over here, you're not going to get any animation because this is loop out, so it will animate after the last keyframe. Now I'll select this rectangle here, I'll hit Ctrl C and I'll go over here and I'll hit Ctrl V, hit U, and over here instead of loop in, instead of loop out, I'll type loop in. I'll delete those extras. Now as you can see over here, they are animating this initially, and after this keyframes they are not gonna animate anything. So this is the looping thing. Now if I'll select this, I'll hit Ctrl C and I'll go over here and I'll hit Ctrl V, hit U for position, and let's open the expression panel, and instead of loop in, I'll type loop out, like that. Now as you can see, loop out means after the last keyframe, from the next keyframe they will again take this first keyframe over here and then they will run up to this one and again they will follow the same thing. Now but over here in this open and close bracket, if I type ping pong like that, let's see what will happen. As you can see, after this they are not actually taking the first frame, but they are going from over here to here. So this is the use of ping pong. Now our next thing is wiggle. Now I'm gonna choose this rectangle, and with the help of shift I'll create this rectangle. Press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center, and then I'll type, let's say, R for rotation, and I'll type Alt click over here. Over here I'm gonna type wiggle. Let's type 3,3. Let's see what happened. As you can see, we will get some wiggle thing over here. If you increase these values, you will get this animations a little bit fast. Let's type 30 over here. Let's see what will happen. So as you can see, with the help of wiggle you can create this kind of stuff. You can simply apply this thing for any property. Alt click again to remove that expressions, but I would suggest instead of type this wiggle expression in the effect and presets panel, you can simply search for wiggle. Over here you will get so many wiggle options, like you have wiggle position, wiggle rotation, etc. If you apply wiggle rotation, you'll get something like that. You have to adjust this anchor point like this. Then you can apply wiggle positions, you can apply wiggle amount, and you can apply the speed of also. I mean, you can manipulate them. So this is the wiggle expression. Now the last one, which is our index. So this is a little bit complicated for some people, but not for everyone. So let's see. Now I'm gonna create this not ellipse but rectangle. Then I'll press Ctrl Alt Home, and if I hit P, as you can see, this is position property. This one is for x-axis and this one is for y-axis, but when in terms of expression we call this one as position open square bracket 0 and this one is 1. So whenever I'm gonna type over here, alt click, open and close bracket, inside that we will type position. As you can see, we will get this over here, open and close square bracket, and type 0. Then we will hit comma, then we will type position, open and close bracket 1. So as you can see, we will not get anything because this is simply saying that position 0, which means this 748.9, and is position 1, which is this one. So as you can see, our expression is index. If I hit plus over here and type 50, which basically means on Y position add 50 value. Let's add, instead of Y position, hit Ctrl X, I'll add this on X position, and not 50 but let's say 350. sorry, we have by mistake deleted this one extra bracket. As you can see, when you are going to add 350, get this, let's add 150. So it will simply add the 150. But after that, if I type star and if I hit index, then as you can see nothing is happening. But if I select this and I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, as you can see, we will get something like that. I'll hit Ctrl Z and let's make it 250, or let's make it 250 and 250 into index. I'll select this and I'll hit Ctrl D. As you can see, we will get duplicate. With each one is gonna add this 250. Select all of them and press P. As you can see, the X position of this one and this one is changed. So this is the use of index. And then we have another thing called countdown. Let's see what is that, which is a bonus expression, or what you can say tip. I'll type one simple text over here. I'll select this text. I'll press Ctrl Alt Home, press S for scaling option and scale it a little bit. Then select this layer and go to the effect and presets panel and apply slider control like that. Over here you can get some values, but it's not fixed for that. Let's go over here in text, alt click, and over here you will get this expression pick whip, and you will make it apparent with this slider control. As you can see, you will get this 0 because the value of this slider is 0. If you increase it, as you can see, you can change the value of this one with the help of this one, because we have made this one parent with this slider control. Now you can go a little bit further, like suppose initially the value of this one is 0. You are going to create one keyframe, hit U, go to around 6 and let's make it 60. But over here you will get this dot and another thing. To get rid of it, what you can do, go to the text, go to the source text, and over here type Mac, then dot, then round, and delete this one and go to the last and make it like that. So you will get rid of this. So this is the extra tip to create this countdown animation with the help of expression. So these are some basic expressions that every motion designer should know. There are some complex expressions. You can simply learn that from any website of After Effects and any other website.